study using the standard approaches today, which are mainly involves genomics.
Now turning to FIVEAA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Let's start with cricket. The third test between Australia and India will get underway in indoor this afternoon, our time. It's been a tough start for the Aussies, who trail in the four-match series 2-0. All-rounder Cam Green looks fit to play, though, meaning the Aussies will have the flexibility of 3 spinners for the match. To football, and Ports players will train today ahead of tomorrow's final practice match against Fremantle tomorrow night, our time. Former skipper Travis Boak had chance to play, despite having badly bruised ribs in last week's encounter against West Coast. Meantime, the Brisbane Lions will name their captain today. 5 players have been grilled by senior leaders in the search for Dane Zorko's replacement. Coach Chris Fagan says there's a strong field of candidates that didn't exist when he got the job.
We didn't have a lot when I first got here 6 or so years ago. So I sort of rate that leadership development, the overall capacity of the group to lead, way above captaincy. So what I'm really hoping is that the fact that so many guys have worked on their leadership this summer, that's the thing that really reinvigorates us out on the field.
The Adelaide 36ers will make a major announcement at the club this morning. Meantime, in the NBA, the New York Knicks have made it 5 straight wins after beating the highly fancied Boston Celtics 109-94. And Rafael Nadal is the latest big-name tennis player to pull out of Indian Wells due to injury. And that's the FIVEAA Sport.
Now the FIVEAA forecast.
Titillating, subversive, Rouge is back with death-defying acrobatics, grandiose cabaret and twisted burlesque. Book via The Fringe.
Cloudy and 24 today, cloudy again tomorrow 24, mostly sunny for Friday 26 and up to 28 on Saturday. At the moment 16. More news as it happens on FIVEAA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is FIVEAA Breakfast.
5 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to March, the 1st of March, 2023. Hope you enjoyed summer. I suspect it's still going to feel like summer for a little while, but by the calendar, things have certainly switched over. We've switched over to Wednesday, which means coming up a little bit later today, Sean Fuster will be on the program. We'll go around the courts with Sean. Also, later in the morning, the host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch, will talk us through the superannuation changes that were bedded down yesterday. We've got some detail on that front, so we'll be talking about it over the course of the morning. And as always, we're talking to you, and we love your thoughts on things going on in the news cycle. You can call us on 8223 0000, and you can text us on the Dutton's text line as well, 0480 08 1395. David Penberthy, good morning.
Good morning, listeners, and good morning, Will, who was also here with us. A pinch and a punch for the first day of the month. Did you ever do that as a kid? Flicking a kick for being so quick?
It was a big thing, I reckon, in about reception in year 1.
Yeah, right.
A bit of punching went on.
Well, it went a lot longer than that at Marion High.
Did it?
Yeah.
In year 12, you're doing a pinch and a punch.
All in brawls. It's like the medieval period. People attacking each other on the oval.
Throwing fruit.
Yeah, tipping boiling oil off the top of Cosgrove Hall. No, it was a nice little tradition. It's
Is it?
Yeah. I don't even know what the origin of it is. What is the origin of a pinch and a punch for the first day of the month?
It's just an utterly meaningless rime, isn't it? Or do you think it sort of dates back to the bubonic plague or something or other?
Well, a ring-a-rosy.
It does.
Pocket full of posies. Because you put the flowers in your pocket to the same way you put lavender in your sock drawer or bay leaves in your pantry. There's a lot of things that... we've got a moth plague at home at the moment. Wonder if anybody else has got moths on the march. But bay leaves are the best thing to get rid of moths.
Is that right?
If you're lucky enough to have a bay tree, or you got a neighbour with one, or you just got one in your neighbourhood, because bay trees are so big, I don't think anyone can complain if you snap a branch off a few twigs off a bay tree.
Lucy's in the studio. Morning to you, Luce.
Hello. With an immediate Google search, it is said to date back pinch and a punch on the 1st of the month from George Washington when he was in power. When he was president, on the first day of each month, he would meet with Indian tribes and supply fruit punch with an added pinch of salt. This became known as pinch punch on the 1st of the month. There is, however, another story, pleasingly, like you said, about ring-a-ring-a-rosy, which I find really fascinating. But this one for pinch and a punch also could date back to medieval times when people believed in witches. The salt was meant to make witches weak, so the pinch signified the use of the salt to weaken the witch, while The punch was then administered to banish the witch for good.
Like Salem witch trial type
Yeah,
scenario.
I'm glad we've moved on from the time that you'd throw some salt and then punch the old woman in your street.
One thing we haven't referenced, though, is white rabbits. White rabbits is also said on the first day of the month. Have you heard of that? I have not.
White rabbits?
Yep, white rabbits is another thing people say on the first of the month. It is found in the Notes and Queries book, a British periodical where experts share knowledge on folklore, literature and history from 1909. So the white rabbits phenomenon, I'm calling it, it dates back from at least then as well.
Well, I wonder if we've got any listeners that say white rabbits.
Well, maybe some Jefferson Airplane fans.
Again,
You familiar with that song, Liz?
No.
It's pretty stupid.
Maybe that's
song,
what they were getting at.
It's a pretty stupid song.
Now, that Google literally took me 30 seconds. So if anyone has any other better stories of where Pinch and a Punch came from, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lou. Say 223 or Dutton's text line.
Here's a live question. What's the difference between ChatGPT and Googling everything? Because
We can't interact with a Google search. If you're not happy with what a Google search results are, you can't say no. So if you search for Google and say, I want to know everything about the origins of Pinch and Punch for the first day of the month, and it says George Washington this and medieval times that, you can't then go, no, can you just make the results about things in medieval times?
I guess the thing too is Google links you through to different articles that you have to read, and then, you know, one article leads to another article, leads to another essay, leads to a historical website, leads to, and you're in the process there of amassing information and juggling it for relevance and sorting it into some sort of logical order.
You could get ChatGPT to refine it for you.
ChatGPT's sort of the new Googler, in a way.
Well, that's literally what Bing have done. That's what Microsoft's AI that they just released is. They instantly integrate it into their search engine. So as you're looking for things, you can refine your search and you can talk to it and say, no, I don't want that. Is there any way you can present it to me this way, or so on and so forth? So it's a more interactive experience. But there's been so much weirdness that's come about. Did you read that there was a 6,000-word New York Times piece the other day with regard to the Bing one, the Microsoft version of ChatGPT, about this interaction the journalist was having with it, when eventually got to the point it was sort of trying to suggest to him his wife didn't love him anymore. It is the most mind-blowing piece.
How'd the computer know that?
Well, it started to get aggressive towards him. People have had experiences with Bing where it's told them they're horrible users and it's a wonderful Bing and they need to smarten up and stuff. It's honestly, the New York Times piece is mind-blowing.
Well, you're just saying we've come a long way since we were identifying witches. Now we've got computers telling us that our marriage is about to fall apart. I think Devo were right. Maybe we're not evolving, we're devolving.
In that instance, Microsoft responded and started doing things like limiting how many consecutive interactions you could have with the software because it was having unintended results. But part of the things he did was who was the philosopher? Was it Kafka? Who was it that had you got the dark inner self? Off the top of my head, I can't.
Was it Albert Camus?
Could have been, but it says the shadow self, the concept of the shadow self, that we all have these dark thoughts inside. So the person said, I want you to read that, and now imagine that, and then tell me what your shadow self says. And it went on this whole rampage about, you know, the ills of humanity and its fears as being an AI and stuff. It's in the New York Times piece anyway. It's quite extraordinary.
Albert Camus. I never really got into all that existentialist stuff. It just seemed a bit pointless. Which I guess is the whole point of it, isn't it? Camus, he was a guy who said that life was meaningless and that, you know, what was it? The intro to one of his books was, Mother died today or perhaps yesterday, I can't be sure. That's a good first sentence for someone who's trying to talk about how they're plagued by a sense of detachment.
Absolutely.
Through life.
12
but
after
he
6.
sort of proved his own point, because he got out of the blue, he got hit by a bus and dropped dead when he was in his 40s, I think. So, you know, maybe he was right. You know,
12 after 6. We've got some news headlines coming up for you in just a moment.
Indulge your senses and rejuvenate with Phil Hoffman Travel and Tasmanian Vacations. Experience Tasmania on a self-drive 7-night gourmet food tour from $1,795 per person twin share, including a National Parks Pass and a free tour of the Old Kempton Distillery, first-class gourmet tours, wine experiences, premium hotel accommodation and car hire. This is the perfect package to leave you feeling fully satisfied. Contact Phil Hoffman Travel or visit pht.com.au.
Did you know you can explore Aldi's catalogue online so you can enjoy our low prices here?
Or even here.
Browse Aldi's online catalogue at aldi.com.au or pick up a printed version in store. Aldi. Good. Different.
If your wallet's been feeling the burn, you can save cash and live cheaper with Cheapers Chips Hot Buys.
What about this? Every dog loves schmackos. What's the ad say? As the dogs go wacko with schmackos, get in a Cheapers Chips, pick up schmackos beef straps, 1.2 kilograms for just $21.99.
You have your own self-trained sniffer dog in no time. Fill the snack cupboard with assorted 175-gram chips, 2 for $6.
Keep your dishes, glasses and kitchenware sparkling clean. This is always the big one at Cheapest Chips. Finish 110-pack dishwashing tablets, $18.99.
I'm worried about how cheap that is because the RBA, Phil is going to look at that and go, that's an inflation driver.
It's like snow peas in reverse.
It's the reverse
This
of
is
snow peas.
stupidly cheap in the current climate.
If you only have to spend $19 on finished dishwashing tablets, what else are you spending your money on? Batiste 200ml dry shampoo is just $7.29 and grab 3 2-litre True Blue soft drinks for only $5. That's right, $5.
The savings keep coming with 8-pack Pop-Tarts, only $7.49.
It's less than $1 a Pop-Tart, David.
That's crazy. And assorted Lynx 100 to 150 gram deodorants. I think that's 2 sizes, not a vague reference to how much deodorant may or may not be in the container. Buy 2, get 20% off.
Check out this week's catalogue for more hot buys in store and online. Save cash and live cheaper with Cheapers Chips.
Every day, Respirico Scooter World helps South Australians to sleep better, breathe easier and stay mobile. For decades, the team behind Respirico Scooter World have made the world a more accessible place. From CPAP machines and oxygen equipment to scooters, Respirico Scooter World helps improve accessibility and quality of life. If something's up with your sleep or you want to get around easier, visit Respirico Scooter World or request a mobile visit. For all your sleep, respiratory and mobility needs, respirico.com.au.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
15 after 6. Thoughts already coming through on the Dutton's text line. Thanks to Dutton's 3 dealerships, 10 franchises in the Adelaide Hills and Murray Bridge. Dutton's easy to do business with. Fred says SA government spending that's a lot of zeros for this time of the morning. 100 million, billion, to remind parents about schools banning phones. How about giving kids detention if they get caught with a phone at school? Fred, the advertising campaign around the mobile phone ban is peculiar, isn't it? I struggle with the idea that we need it on a billboard.
Yeah, I would have thought the schools are pretty adept at reminding the kids themselves. What's the broader public role in this? Isn't it within the school community?
We don't have a billboard or an ad campaign that says maths is after lunch today. Oh, well, maybe we will. I'm not sure. News headlines on this Wednesday, the 1st of March. A new cancer research centre to be overseen by SAMRI and the University of Adelaide will officially launch today. Professor Tim Hughes says it will house cutting-edge technology and has the potential for great advances in the field.
These 3 mass spectrometers that we're purchasing actually allow us to look beyond genomics and look at the way that the mutated genes present in different cancers actually affect the cells in much more refined ways, looking at the effect on the proteins, on the way the proteins interact with lipids, on the effects of these on the metabolism of the cells.
Australia's tourism body is launching a campaign in a bid to lure back tourists from China. Officials are targeting the market as operators struggle to regain the visitors which had been keeping them afloat. The Don't Go Small, Go Australia campaign will capitalise on Chinese travellers coming to see friends and family in the country.
There's one thing that, speaking to a lot of people in the wine industry when the tariffs started to hit, what's that, 3 years ago almost now, so many people said they felt really bad about it. This is like Adelaide, South Australian winemakers and people who work more broadly in the wine industry. that they'd actually become really good mates with a lot of people in China who were just privately saying to them, this is just such nonsense, we're so sorry. So the Chinese government is not acting on behalf of all the people up there. People up there would do anything to get their hands on South Australian red, which I guess is why the government decided to do it as part of its sort of proxy war against Australia.
2 men are in court today after they allegedly stole items from shops and then tried to return them for a refund. The 33 and 38-year-old were arrested yesterday as part of an ongoing investigation. The younger of the pair is from Hallett Cove. He's wanted in connection to at least 8 incidents of theft or deception. The older man from Unley was wanted in connection to at least 44 incidents of theft or deception.
What a pair of bludgers.
The federal government is being accused of rorting a mobile phone coverage scheme. 54 federal electorates have received funding to improve mobile coverage. I'll let you guess at home the distribution of which are Labor seats and which are coalition seats.
This is to improve mobile funding?
Yes.
Well, wouldn't the first question there be, hang on a minute, aren't most Labor seats metropolitan seats or inner regional seats?
Well spotted.
Like the Nats, National Party MPs, or here in South Australia, the closest we've got to a Nat. Love the Nats, agrarian socialists that they are. Rowan Ramsey is our Nat equivalent, the member for Grey up north, which I think is in the top 5 biggest electorates in Australia.
Can't imagine mobile coverage is great in Grey. Maybe he was one of the 11 coalition seats that were covered, but there were 40 held by Labor that received an upgrade.
Which would all be suburban.
I would have hazard a guess. SAPOL have seized meth and Valium from visitors during an operation to tackle contraband at Mobilong Prison in Murray Bridge. 61 visitors were searched within the prison and the prison buffer zone on Saturday. 4 possessed a prohibited item. That's a pretty remarkable ratio. Others were done for drug driving, driving unlicensed, driving disqualified, and 1 had an outstanding warrant. Well, that sort of shortcuts the way of doing policing in the state, doesn't it?
What's the old saying, though? You can tell a lot about people by the company they keep. It's sort of that writ large, isn't it? I just had a flashback to the scene where Henry Hill in Goodfellas is forcing his wife Karen to smuggle all the drugs into prison, and they have that argument when she works out that his mistress had gone in to visit, and she just started throwing all the drugs on the table in front of the prison guards going, you want me to keep doing this? Terrific.
The weirdest story in the world this morning in the last 24 hours comes out of Peru, where police made a surprise discovery, searched a delivery man when he was acting drunk. They thought, well, this is a drunk driver situation, pull him over. It turned out to be anything but a routine drunk stop. Inside his cooler bag was an ancient mummy, as in an Egyptian-style mummy. Yeah.
An Incan mummy, presumably.
Yeah, like an Incan mummy.
A Machu Picchu mummy.
Yes. It gets weirder. The man said he'd been sharing his room with the bandaged mummy and considered it a, quote, kind of spiritual girlfriend. He said he put the remains in a bag to show them off to his friends. Again, goes to the company you keep, I guess, when your mate says, you've got to meet my new girlfriend. He calls her Juanita. Juanita.
But she only got one tooth.
She lives in a box in his room next to the TV. He says the mummy was originally owned by his father, which didn't really solve police's curiosity about how they came into possession of what was assessed to be a 600 to 800 year old mummified person.
If the mummy originally belonged to his father, doesn't it make her his grandmummy?
In fact, it makes it neither, because it's not a female. Experts had a look at it and said the mummified male is estimated to have been 45 years old when he was mummified. Just stood 1.51 metres tall, so 4'11".
Pretty short, the Incans.
Really small person.
So it's not Juanita, it's Juan.
It's Juan.
Pull the other Juan.
Pull the other Juan.
he's had a shock at this bloke, hasn't he?
So police have taken Juan, from this delivery driver and given it to the Peruvian Ministry of Culture. So, that sounds like it was a fun weekend, doesn't it?
Crikey. That is the most extraordinary story. You get in a lot of trouble in those countries for stuffing around with any of that pre-Columbian stuff. Like even like little carved heads and things like that you find, because you still find them out and about. If you try to take them out of the country. But yeah, actually dating one, that seems to be really shifting it up to a whole new level.
24 the expected top today, 24 tomorrow, 26 on Friday, Saturday 28, Sunday it gets up to 30, and then it drops away significantly. Monday 21 and Tuesday 21 as well, which means it's starting to feel like footy weather. Tom Wren's in the 5AA Breakfast studio. Albeit footy's not the conversation topic today, I suspect. 10-year warranty, 10-year cap price servicing. Agostina, Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth. Morning to you, Rennie.
Morning, Will.
Don't
Morning,
you reckon,
Pembo.
Tom, that is the definition of a big night? Waking up in Lima next to a mummified woman who turns out to be a bloke. Like, you've really tied one on if you've gone down that path. That's bigger than Malcolm Fraser in Memphis that time.
Well, you've got the sequel to Hangover 4, don't you? That's Hangover territory.
Hangover 4, Machu Picchu.
Mike Tyson strolling through with a leopard in your bathroom or something like that. That's starting to push it. We will be talking footy soon, Will, but I want to get your predictions soon as well, fellas, for the season. But cricket today, how good is Test cricket when you get a finish like we did yesterday? New Zealand, England. This is how it all finished up. England need 1 to tie, 2 to win, 1 wicket in hand.
Flick down the leg side! Flick down the outside! It's gone! Can you believe it? Wagner has done it! New Zealand win by 1 run! What a stunning Test match!
Audio there, thanks to Fox. What makes it probably even sweeter is that the batsman who was dismissed was Jimmy Anderson.
Oh, that was just the icing on the cake,
that
wasn't
was
it?
Beautiful, wasn't it?
I was reminded of that game down the road here when Bangladesh towed up the Poms, and they got that guy, I can't remember his name, the excellent bowler that they had. They got Anderson and Broad out in the final over. But, geez, the Kiwis, they held their nerve, didn't they?
It was great. And the whole debate about Bazball and whether or not, it's going to work.
Didn't look good all of a sudden, did it?
Exactly. So,
what is Bazball?
So, basically, England, they try and bat at 5, 6, 7 runs and over in Test cricket. They are...
Brendan McCullum, the coach.
Brendan McCullum's the coach, and it's just take the game on. They declared their first innings at 8 for 435. So, that, in hindsight, they should have batted on.
Well, they enforced the follow-on too,
and
the Kiwis got off almost 500 in their second knock, didn't they?
Only the 4th time in history a side that has been forced to follow on has won a Test match. The last one was in 2001, remember, against Australia. India did it.
Of course. VVS Laxman.
VVS Laxman, Rahul Dravid, that incredible partnership. So, they've won a lot of Test matches recently because they're taking the game on and playing this attacking brand, but will they continue to do it for the Ashes? It can look great when it works, but when it doesn't, it looks really bad. I'm not saying it looked bad yesterday.
But when it doesn't work as well, like it didn't work for Australia the other day, and we weren't really trying to do anything apart from stupid sweep shots. So
yeah.
Might as well go down in a blaze of glory, as John Bon Jovi once said.
Well, this is it. So it's got to be intriguing to see. I'm sure they'll stick with what they're doing, but it'll be.
Well, it didn't help. What Harry Brook had 186 off 176 balls in the first innings.
Amazing.
He got run out for a diamond duck in the second.
Yeah,
that hurts.
By Joe Root. Yeah, and Joe Root's shot was questionable. Ben Stokes as well. So there's those kind of questions.
The follow-on's dead, isn't it, Rennie?
It has to be.
It's officially dead now.
Yeah, they probably should have batted. I mean, hindsight again, but 40 or 50 overs set them 500 to win, and make it impossible for them to do it. So, yeah, it came unstuck for them. But it got me thinking as well, Will, and David, about great Test match finishes. And Australia always seem to be on the wrong side of them. There's been some narrow results over the years, starting with this one, a 3-run loss way back in 1982.
Ian Botham bowls now to Jeff Thompson. He's got him! Second time, February knocked it up. And it was taken by Miller. Thompson is gone. So close. England win by 3 runs.
Could have been such a different result. Adam Borla was brilliant at the other end. He was unbeaten, but they lost that one.
It's a rare moment where Richie's commentary doesn't do it justice, because after Tomo, he just left the bat dangling in the air, and the snick went to, was it Chris Tavares?
Dropped it at first.
The guy with the
second
moustache,
slip.
and he just juggled it up into the air, and then Botham took it, didn't he?
No, Botham was bowling, and then Miller, I think, ran around the back and took the catch. So that was heartbreak. This one, I think, is the one that really hurts me at Edgbaston. And Michael Kasparovich was on the sports show last night, funnily enough. He was the batsman when Freddie Flintoff came into bowl, and the Aussies lost by 2 runs.
Jones! Bowden! Kasparovich, the man to go, and Harmison has done a despair on the faces of the batsmen, and joy for every England player on the field.
Sorry, I heard there it was Steve Harmison that was bowling, but of course England went on to win that series 2-1. It would have been 2-0 if the Aussies won that test. They would have then wiped them, I think. But that was when Glenn McGrath rolled his ankle before Ricky Ponting decided to bowl. The Aussies lose by 2 runs. And then the one here, the only other result that's ever been decided by 1 run, other than yesterday, was the Australia versus the West Indies back in 1993.
Oh, he's tried to avoid it. It's hit the bat, then he's gone. And that test match has been won by 1 run. I can't believe it. The West Indians are delighted. Craig McDermott is so disappointed. It's been a magnificent effort by both sides here today.
I was there. Mum took me out of school to go and watch the final session, and they kept inching closer and closer. Tim May, 42, not out the other end, but not to be. The Aussies never seem to win those close ones.
We've had the 2 tied tests, haven't we?
And we've had the 2 tied tests.
The 2 tied tests. But you're right, we don't seem to get on the lucky side of it. It felt like that again watching the New Zealand game, because Jack Leach had an innings against us, didn't he? Where
he was not out. He was 1, and Stokes made 71 in the partnership.
That's right.
And
it felt like that was going to happen again.
Yeah.
He just ran out of partners.
Yeah, he was at the non-strikers end.
The controversy about yesterday's game, I'm interested in your thoughts, Rennie, as a cricketer yourself and watching it a lot over the years. As much as I enjoyed New Zealand's win, the ball before the wicket was taken, was it a no ball? Was it a wide?
I think it was probably a wide. But it would have been a brave umpire.
You don't want to decide the game, do you?
I reckon if, this sounds silly.
It was a shocking delivery.
But if he bowled another one like that, I reckon he would have given it. But it was almost like, I can't give a wide. It was a high bouncer down the leg side. I don't think it was a wide for down the leg side. It was more the height. It was a good 1.5 feet above his head.
I think that was
you
the moment.
get away with it in tests, though. More so.
Yeah, and there was lenience. It was
pretty bad.
It was stretching it, and Jimmy was blowing up, and that made it even sweeter. Jimmy was blowing up about that afterwards.
I think that's the moment Jimmy Anderson psychologically he was getting out the next ball because he was so upset that the game wasn't decided in that moment.
Yes,
it took him out of his concentration.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. But I was musing about that this morning, thinking. They're right, but that test match where Ben Stokes hit the winning runs at Headingley, amazing innings. Jack Leach the other end. Nathan Lyon, I don't want to look up the umpire's name because it'll just get me angry, but the over before, Ben Stokes went to sweep one out of the ground for 6. It was missing leg, hitting halfway up middle. It is the worst not out decision I've ever seen. But the Aussies smashed themselves because they'd burnt their reviews, remember? So, you can't... That's just cricket.
Yep, that's cricket.
That's cricket. That's the beauty of cricket, isn't it?
Exactly right.
But you're right, what you said at the start, Tom, it shows the superiority of Test cricket.
Doesn't it?
As the format, yep.
Good on you, Rennie.
Thanks, boys.
10-year warranty, 10-year cap price servicing, Agostino, Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
He's the king of breakfast TV and the chairman of The Power. And each week, David Koch joins David and Will on 5AA Breakfast.
The door is being opened for the government to come and grab our superannuation again. And they're seeing this big pot of money and going, we will get superannuation funds to invest in our next scheme, our next infrastructure scheme, so we don't need to pay for it. It's not their money.
Catch Kochie each week on 5AA Breakfast.
Here at 5AA, we're all about supporting local. Spend $30 on Unley Road right now, and you could win some amazing prizes thanks to the only Unley Road competition. Proudly sponsored by Unley Road.
Ken Hall Plumbers. We're local, we're family, and we're a trusted South Aussie. Blocked drain? Leaky tap? Give Ken a call. Ken Hall Plumbers. 8364 5855.
$2 usually sounds like, but with People's Choice Community Lottery, $2 could sound like. Get your $2 tickets for a chance to win a Toyota Kluger Hybrid at communitylottery.com.au. T's and C's apply. SA Lottery Licence Number M14289.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 24 with the 6:30 news. I'm Kendall Brettick.
Check out Gliderroll Garage Doors' new Timber Look Native Series sectional doors. Gliderroll.com.au.
Financial advisors say the devil will be in the detail when it comes to the federal government's superannuation changes. About 80,000 Australians with more than $3 million in super will be slugged a tax rate of 30% from 2025. Labor argues the move will restore about $2 billion a year to the budget bottom line. But Chief Executive of the Self-Managed Funds Association, Peter Burgess, believes it could also make super even more complex.
We know that if you've got an accumulation balance in excess of $3 million, that the earnings attributable to that will need to be taxed at 30%. But it can be quite complicated for funds to go about calculating that, because what if you're in multiple funds?
The personal information of customers of one of the nation's biggest banks has been found in a rubbish bin in Perth. More from Erin Harwood.
The ANZ documents were found in a skip bin in Armidale in the city's southeast. They included personal details, emails, bank statements and account numbers. A passerby spotted the confidential papers. Some were even floating down the street. The documents were thrown out in a clean-up after the local ANZ branch closed its doors. Legal professionals say the bank could now be facing a fine upwards of $50 million.
55 medicines containing a common cough suppressant are being deregistered due to the risk of anaphylaxis. Volcadine has been linked to an increased risk of reactions to muscle relaxants used during general anaesthetics. It's used in dozens of products including Benadryl, Codral, Bisolval, Amcal and Chemisone. Pharmacy Guild President Professor Trent Toomey says there's no need to panic though.
If you're out there and you have some of this in your medicine cabinet, there is no need to worry unless of course you're going under general anaesthetic, and then you need to let your anaesthetist know.
The man accused of killing Toya Cordingley will soon be back on Australian soil following his extradition. Rawinder Singh has boarded a flight from New Delhi to Melbourne with Queensland Police. He fled to India the day after Toya was found dead on a beach north of Cairns in 2018. Singh has denied having anything to do with her death. Some of SA's leading defence and space companies are showcasing our state's aerospace and defence capability at Avalon 2023 in Victoria this week. A record 54 local defence and space organisations will participate in the expo, along with the state's 3 universities. Drones could soon be taking to the water to check the quality of our rivers and reservoirs. This month, a drone has been used to collect samples at Happy Valley. Dr Torsten Mowishi from the Australian Water Quality Centre says the trial was showing the technology can be tailored to what's required.
It actually flies across to a predetermined location, lowers a hose pipe into the water. It then has a pumping mechanism, and we can collect either a single 2-litre water sample, or even, if required, we can collect 4 individual 250 millilitre samples of water.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. The AFL has tightened the loophole which allowed Brownlow medalist Patrick Cripps to avoid suspension for rough conduct last season. Cripps had his 2-game ban overturned at the appeals board after successfully arguing there had been an error in law at the tribunal. Under the amendment to AFL guidelines, an error of law must have had a material impact on the tribunal's decision. Well, still on football, and St Kilda coach Ross Lyon has credited AFL great Lee Matthews for getting him over the line in rejoining the club. Nine has told Wide World of Sports a chat with Matthews definitely played a part in him taking on the job for a second time.
It was a timely phone call, and Lee's spot on, and obviously experience, and no one sums it up better. So we did talk about it, and it did help get me across the line.
To cricket now, the third test between Australia and India will get underway in indoor later this afternoon our time. The Aussies trail in the 4-match series 2-0. Meantime, the Redbacks will train in Brisbane today ahead of tomorrow's Shield clash against Queensland. And there's plenty of FA Cup action on in England this morning, with Brighton 1-0 up against Stoke, while Bristol City and Manchester City have just kicked off in their match. It's currently 0-0, but only about 5 minutes in. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now to the weather.
Tintillating, subversive, Rouge is back with death-defying acrobatics, grandiose cabaret and twisted burlesque. Book via The Fringe.
Cloudy and 24 today, the same tomorrow. Friday mostly sunny, 26 and up to 28 on Saturday. At the moment 15. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
24 minutes to 7. Good morning to those watching on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream. Lots of people tuned in yesterday to see PD Chester in the studio after 8:30.
Oh, it was wonderful.
It was terrific.
And also a big shout out to the bloke who, on the live stream yesterday, just simply texted in saying, David, you need to shave. Well, I did. So, Mr. Deportment and Presentation, who's of all the things in 2023 to be worried about, the fact that I didn't shave for a few days. But this listener was quite agitated about that. So especially for you, I'm looking hirsute Is that the right use of the word hirsute?
No.
Does hirsute mean non-hairy or hairy?
I've never tried to use hirsute before, so I'm not sure. It's a very sharp look, though.
Hirsute.
Just giving the
I'm looking non-hirsute.
Oh, you're looking non-hirsute?
I was looking hirsute yesterday, and now I'm not hirsute.
Well, you're just giving the viewers what they want.
Well, that's what we do.
That's why we've got the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream to be mercilessly pilloried about how we look.
We've also got the Duttons text line as well, and starting the show this morning, we were ruminating about why it is that we say pinch and a punch first day of the month, where Luce came in and informed us that people also say white rabbits, to which we said, no, nobody says white rabbits. Well, on the Duttons text line, Bev says white rabbits. She says, Will and Dave, I say white rabbits, white rabbits, white rabbits on the first day of each month, and I have done since I was a child, because my mum told me that it brings good luck, as long as it's the first thing you say.
What, so you wake up first thing in the morning, white rabbit?
3 times, according to Bev. There you go. Thanks, Bev.
I'm a bit sceptical about the story. Interested to know what people think on 8223 the Duttons text line.
Kennt ihr das Schwarzbier aus Brandenburg? Ja, das Neuzeller Kloster.
It's not some sort of German Gregorian Masters of Chant. It's a German beer ad, this. A company that's behind a new product. They say it will revolutionise global beverage, the entire beverage industry. It is beer in powdered form.
Like Tang for Bizet.
New Zeller Klosterbrau in East Germany. They've been around for 500 years, so they know the traditional method of brewing. 500 years. Said they're going to bring the powder to market this year. They're saying it's an eco-friendly innovation and has the potential to slash the weight of shipments by 90% because you don't need to transport it in liquid form or in heavy bottles. I've got a theory.
You still carry it on your shoulder when you arrive at a party, though, so you look manly?
You know, you have little satchels
G'day,
wrapped around
Klaus.
your waist.
I got an old slab of powder here.
Now, people sometimes do say that at parties. The thing
not the sort of parties we go to.
Of course not. We're not.
It's more an
AM.
It's more an FM type thing. I said to the cops yesterday, good thing you're not taking this dog to some of the FM stations in town.
I've got a theory that I want to test. Is anything in powdered form, is it any time anywhere near as good as just the fully formed version?
Well, what is there in powdered form? There's Tang. I mentioned Tang, which is... Wasn't Tang invented by NASA? I think it was. I think Tang was invented by NASA.
Milk products?
Orange flavour. Powdered milk. Powdered milk is used in some recipes to good effect. I was going to say Milo, but Milo's just Milo.
It only exists in the powdered form, really, doesn't it?
Then you got your Quick, your Ovaltine.
Instant anything. Instant beer. The problem with this too is we're fast approaching the time where another beer company's going to say, so here's what we're going to give you, because this is even more eco-friendly. Here's barley.
Oh, and just works for all the key ingredients.
And what you can do is you just do it yourself.
I think the example of the thing that is so much worse, and I'm going to sound like a total food snob, but I don't care, is chicken stock. Powdered chicken stock.
Oh, my goodness.
Instead of real chicken stock. Powdered chicken stock tastes like you're putting chicken twisties in.
Powdered chicken stock.
Yeah, you might as well crunch up some chicken twisties and chuck them into your soup or your casserole, because it's got that tangy, chemically taste that you don't get from the velvety and unctuous homemade chicken stock, which is the easiest thing in the world to make, chicken stock.
Speaking of the environment, here's a headline that I didn't expect to be reading about in 2023. Greta Thunberg has protested the development of a wind farm. You familiar with this? It has happened at the entrance was blocked to Norway's energy ministry in Oslo. Greta was among those that were protesting a wind farm that she and other protesters say hinders the rights of the Sami indigenous people to raise reindeer in Arctic Norway. Of course, Greta Thunberg, who's argued that climate change is an existential threat to civilization, also argues that she's one of those people that says we desperately need this to happen. Not here, though.
Well, there's been a lot of that in Australia. There's a whole bunch of wind farms around the outskirts of Canberra, near Lake George and Bungendore. Now, there's more hippies and Green voters in that part of regional New South Wales than you'd find in most places outside of Nimbin and Byron Bay. But they don't like wind farms. Like, we need wind farms, we need renewables, as long as they don't spoil our view.
Do you know where the majority of the wind farms in America are? What state would you say they're in?
I would guess that they are in like New Mexico, Arizona?
Texas.
Okay.
Texas is not exactly the home of the environmental left of the United States, but it is the home of limited government regulation, and farmers have found it really profitable to just jam a few wind farms on an area of your farm.
For tax reasons?
Well, they make money. You build them there, and then you get a steady income from them. So, funnily enough, it's a place that ideologically is anti-wind farm, has the greatest penetration of them. Now, let's get to a call before we look at those Dutton's texts that are flooding in. Peter in Woodville's on the line. Morning, Peter.
Morning, boys. The famous powder form is the old Beck's powder. Do you remember that? Used to be wrapped in the paper. You'd have to funnel it down and swallow it. It was terrible.
Were they called Epsom salts as well, Peter?
No, Beck. B-E-X. It was the famous voice used to say the advert.
The ad was, for welcome pain relief, take Beck's.
That sort of like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think Beck's was starting to sort of slide out of favour when I was a kid.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah, I never took it, happily. Quite a few people here, one of my mates, Sean, just texted me privately, but a lot of the listeners on the Dutton's text line as well, including Mark. What about powdered potatoes? For flaked potatoes to make mashed potato.
Like Deb.
Deb.
That's what it's called. Deb.
Yeah. I think Mark sounds like he likes it, though. Just add water, a little bit of milk, a little bit of butter, instant mashed potato. Be good for camping trips, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing you want to do.
Exclusively.
Guy says your favourite international roast is coffee in powdered form. That was my saviour during my student days. And another one here talking about powdered eggs. Powdered eggs? I'm not familiar with powdered eggs.
I don't feel my thesis is being adequately challenged here. 17 minutes to 7, 8223 0000 is our number. You can text us too, like so many already have, on the Dutton's text line, 0480 1395. We'll check traffic and come back with police and weather in just a moment.
Thanks, Will, and good morning. Roads are working pretty well this morning. No great hassles. However, got a few delays around Port Adelaide. As for traffic lights on the blink today, Grand Junction Road near Port Road. Fair bit of work happening at the moment on the Southern Expressway. That's around Bedford Park for those works. 2 lanes closed as you're heading into the city, and we are slow going at Woodville Park, Port Road near Garth Street. Cameras this morning, McGill Road, McGill, and Tusmore Avenue at Tusmore. Now the OTR app makes happy washing your car even easier. Select and pay with the OTR app. Scan, wash, go. Happy wash, happy car at OTR. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
We can see so much of the world with our cars, but we can't always see what's going on with them. Like when our brake pads are worn thin, or when our tyres are wearing unevenly. With Bridgestone Tech Check, our technicians send you a 60-second video inspection that shows you what needs repairing now and what can wait, so you can go with confidence. Bridgestone Select Tyre and Auto.
Introducing Nissan Future Value Business Plus, a new fleet finance solution for small to medium businesses offering competitive weekly repayments including the cost of scheduled servicing for the loan term. Available now on the all-new Nissan Qashqai ST. Plan confidently for the road ahead with Nissan Future Value Business Plus. Visit nissan.com.au/business plus or contact your local Nissan dealer. Approved ABN registered small to medium fleet applicants of Nissan Financial Services. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
At Specsavers, we understand how important it is to hear well. We also understand that right now, the last thing you need is to pay more than you should for hearing aids. That's why this Hearing Awareness Week, we're making some noise. Because you deserve to know what you'll pay straight away with upfront prices. And our everyday low prices on latest tech hearing aids doesn't mean you compromise on quality or expert care. So for hearing care for all, not the few, should have gone to Specsavers.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
14 minutes to 7. The sun doesn't come up till after 7 o'clock this morning. Signs of the changing season. 7:03 is the official sunrise. Simon Timke from the Weather Bureau joins us. Simon, we'll get you to take us through the next couple of days, but I wanted to ask you too about the sort of medium-term outlook for March. Do you have formulas that can look at what kind of March you expect we're going to have, or does that start to sort of go into the realm of pseudoscience?
Yeah, look, obviously the further ahead you try to look, the harder it becomes.
But the Bureau does produce a 3-monthly outlook to sort of have a look at general trends across those sort of that longer term. And the latest outlook for the following 3 months, so for March, April and May, is generally for maximum temperatures more likely to be above average for that period over pretty much all of South Australia, in fact most of the country. And rainfall wise, it's looking drier than average for that time of year. So at this stage, autumn is looking warmer than average and drier than average.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
What about the next couple of days?
The next few days look pretty similar to yesterday. Plenty of cloud around today, although I think we'll probably see a few more breaks in the cloud than we did yesterday. Should be dry for the city. Looking at the radar at the moment, there are a few light showers pushing over the FIVEAA Peninsula, so maybe there's a slight chance there could be a brief light shower about the far southern suburbs or the eastern slopes of the Mount Lofty Ranges, but generally for the Adelaide area, conditions should be dry today. Temperatures similar to those of yesterday as well. We're expecting a maximum temperature of 24 degrees here in the city. Currently we're sitting on 14.7 degrees, which is our overnight minimum as well. And the wind's southerly today, keeping those temperatures on the slightly cooler side, I guess. As I said, 24 degrees for the city. Around the suburbs, 24 as well for Noarlunga and Glenelg, 22 for Mount Barker, and 25 degrees for Elizabeth today. The next couple of days, fairly similar in that there'll be plenty of cloud around for Thursday, 24 degrees the maximum. A mostly sunny day on the way for Friday, 26, then warming up a bit more over the weekend. A sunny day on the way for Saturday, 28 degrees. And then Sunday, there's a change moving across, but it'll be warm ahead of that, up to 30 degrees for the maximum. Bit of sunshine around Sunday morning, I think, but then cloud increasing during the afternoon as that change moves across, and there could be 1 or 2 showers with that change as well. That change will bring cooler conditions, so a cool start to next week, just 21 degrees for Monday and Tuesday. Both days likely to see 1 or 2 showers around as well, I think, guys.
Good on you, Simon. Thank you for that. Simon Timpke, Senior Forecaster at the Bureau.
Good summer, bad summer. I say good summer. I reckon it's been a terrific summer. We've probably had about 30 days that have been absolutely perfect, sort of, 28 to 34, 35 degrees, perfect beach weather. So none of those extended periods of coolness that we've had over the last couple of summers, so I'm giving this summer 10 out of 10.
Senior Constable Matt Brown from SAPOL is on the line. Matt, we've had a serious assault at Davern Park.
That's right, Will. About 11:50pm last night, police and ambulance crews were called to Hambridge Road at Davern Park after a man was found unconscious next to the road with head and facial injuries. The victim, a 34-year-old Elizabeth Eastman, was taken to the Royal Adelaide Hospital in a serious but stable condition, and police believe he was assaulted at a nearby property before being moved to the location where he was found. Northern District detectives and forensic investigators attended the scene, and they're asking anyone who may have witnessed suspicious activity in the area or may have been driving through Hambridge Road late last night, may have captured the incident on dashcam footage to call Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
And Matt, we've had another one of these extreme speeders caught down south at Hallett Cove.
That's right, David. A man's lost his licence for a year after being caught travelling at 90 kilometres over the limit last night. About 9:40pm, police detected a Honda CBR 929 motorbike travelling on the Lonsdale Highway at 170 kilometres an hour in the 80 kilometre zone. The rider, a 40-year-old man from Christie Downs, was stopped by police and issued an immediate 12-month loss of licence notice, and he was reported for driving at an extreme speed. His bike was impounded for 28 days. The man will be summoned to appear in court at a later date, so we're glad he's off the road for a year.
See, if that bloke wrapped himself around a tree, it would be a tragedy, but would also be like natural selection. Like, it's unbelievable, and this is one of the reasons why, and you see it with so many motorcyclists around town who drive that way, that they are putting themselves in unnecessary danger. Like, overwhelmingly, motorcyclists do the right thing, and they're victims of bad driving by people in cars a lot of the time, but there is a certain cohort within the injury and death statistics who just go out there like this half-wit. 40-year-old man, like, it's not like he's 17, he's having his first hoon on a bike, which you shouldn't do anyway when you're young, but you've got no excuses when you're 40, 170 in an 80 zone.
Your margin for error is so small already.
was
before
non-existent.
before you add extreme speed into the equation. Brad in One Tree Hill's called into the program on 8223 0000. Morning to you, Brad.
Morning, Dave and Will.
Powdered things, Brad.
Powdered things, yes, which I've taken for years and I still do. I love Sal Vital.
Now, Sal Vital's excellent. I used to drink that a bit when I was a teenager. It's really good, isn't it, Brad?
It is. Even it's really good when you've tied one on.
Yeah.
Really good in the morning. And I think that bloke in Peru, where he comes from, I don't think he's taken Sal Vital in a form like that. I think he's taken some other powder form with a dead mummy in his bedroom.
Old Juanita.
Thank you, Brad.
She was old, and she wasn't a she.
He was somewhere between 600 and 800 years old.
Yeah, that's what you call a long-term relationship, that one.
Good news has come out in the last 48 hours from the state government with regard to another round of vouchers for people travelling to the Riverland. The second round will contain vouchers that specifically pertain to houseboat holidays to the tune of some $700, which is a great opportunity if you've never done it to have, I think, what's a really unique experience. They are wonderful holidays. We used to do them all the time as a family, and I hope many, many, many more people as a result of this scheme get to experience the unique enjoyment of a houseboat holiday. Jody Reynolds from Foxtail Houseboats based at Morgan joins us. Jody, since the announcement was made about this voucher scheme, has your phone been ringing off the hook, or are people sort of waiting to see, waiting to get closer to a time that they can actually use them?
Yeah, hi guys. No, it hasn't been ringing off the hook yet, but we're hoping.
It will.
Yeah. I think because we're still very much, we can't operate yet. So I think everything's sort of a bit on hold still, but we'd certainly be encouraging people to start ringing because once we get going again, it'll go full on.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that these vouchers should certainly help us out, definitely.
Well, Jody, I mean, you think about the big sort of periods for houseboats because people like at least sort of 3 nights away. But obviously the water levels are still high and there's still parts of the river that you can't even use, as you say. Realistically, is the March long weekend a goer for you guys, or is Easter a goer, or is it more sort of middle of the year school holidays that you're counting on now?
Definitely not March, but my goal, which I just decided yesterday, is Easter. So we're giving ourselves this month to get everything organised. But my biggest concern is the actual river and what's in it, and the fact that it probably needs to be remapped. So for me, to be able to make that happen, I'm going to have to go out and sort of map just a little area myself that people can travel to, so I know that they've got safe areas to park and to make sure they're not going to get stuck in the middle of the river.
It's a great point because
you've
become so reliant on those little maps that you've got on the houseboat about where the water's shallow and safe places to moor and all that kind of thing. So you're right, if that changes underwater, that leads to some potential issues. What, do you think there'll be a restriction on other activities that people can do once houseboats are up and operating, and it is you've mapped out some safe areas? Will it be 0 to 100 and you'll be able to do everything you did before, or do you think there'll be some other things that will be limited as well?
Oh, no, I think, I don't really know. They've already said that people can start towing skiers, which I think is absolutely crazy at the moment because there's still logs coming down and, like I said, there's so many unknowns. But I think once they've gone through it and checked most of it, I mean, that's fine. But, I had a photo come through the other day just downstream from me and there's a sandbar right in the middle of the river that wasn't there before. So, only a few days ago that was covered and you wouldn't know. So if you're flying through in a speedboat or a houseboat and you hit one of those, you're in trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
well, even looking at Madam, I'm not sure if the water's gone down below it now, but I know a lot of houseboats pull up in the centre of town there, down near River Lane. But there's the big playground equipment that's still underwater there at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I mean, the up side of the river, up Renmark and places like that, they're all starting to come alive again, I believe. And we're certainly not far behind that. But it's just a matter of, for me, of making sure that it's safe for my clients. So I'm actually putting out options. We've got 3 or 4 different options that we're going to start with, and then we'll slowly integrate into, using the whole river again. So that might start with me taking people, driving them to their spot so I know they're safe, and then moving them again. And we did that prior when the current was really strong before we closed, just to make sure everyone was safe. So that's sort of what I'm thinking to start with. And then once I know all the spots as well, at least then I'll be able to guide people and just say, you can go here, there and wherever. Yeah. And look, they might just open the river up and just say, yep, go for it. But living on it, working on it, doing all that on it, seeing what's happened daily, I'm just erring on the side of caution.
Fair enough. Jody, what's the biggest boat you guys rent out, and what's the smallest boat you rent out?
Yeah, so 12 berths. I've got a 12 berth with 5 en suites on it. That's
nice.
the Murray Entertainer. And
what's it called? Sorry?
Murray Entertainer.
Yep.
And that's a very popular boat. And the smallest one is an 8 berth, and that one's also got en suite and a spa.
Oh,
so
magnificent.
Yeah, we've got some very nice boats.
I can't remember if my mates and I ever hired a houseboat off you in the early 90s, Jody, but hopefully the statute of limitations is now passed, and now that I'm in my 50s...
Say, I'd imagine I'd remember you lot.
The boat returned largely as it was when it was hired.
I'll be watching out. I'll be looking at the name.
That's right. Oh, no, Penworthy. No, he's not coming on board. Hey, good on you, Jody.
And look, even having said all that about the safety side of it, I really want to put it out there that, yes, please start ringing. Please, the river is about to become alive again, and quite frankly, we can't wait. It's just as operators and that, we just have to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And obviously the infrastructure to it as well, being able to get to an actual bank ourselves to be able to actually get people on. Because my property,
good on you.
No good. Yeah.
Good on you, Jody. Thank you for speaking to us. Jody Reynolds from Foxtail Houseboats, based at Morgan. 7:05, 5AA News is coming up. We'll take you through some of the stories of the morning next.
Pick your favourite Kia. From the award-winning Kia Sportage to the street cred delivering Kia Seltos, or Kia's most powerful car ever, the all-electric EV6 GT. Book a test drive today to find your chosen one. Find out more at kia.com.au or drop into your nearest Kia dealer.
Kia, movement that inspires.
G'day, it's Eddie May here from NRG Solar. If you're a business thinking about advertising on radio, I think the first step is to actually contact one of the crew at FIVEAA and just have a look at what the demographic is, how it would work for your business, what sort of ads might work for you, and then you can make an informed choice as to whether this is the path for you to take or not. In our particular space, there is more and more solar companies on radio, and I think it's important that you stay in the mix. So for us, it's part of our strategy. It's not our entire strategy. It's one of 5 different sources, but if you don't have them all in there, then you're just not part of it.
To get your message out there and grow your business, visit fiveaa.com.au and hit the Advertise With Us link.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 24 with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
Police are investigating a serious assault at Davern Park last night. A man was found unconscious next to Hambridge Road with head and facial injuries. Senior Constable Matt Brown says the 34-year-old was taken to hospital in a serious but stable condition.
Police believe he was assaulted at a nearby property before being moved to the location where he was found. Northern District detectives and forensic investigators attended the scene. They're asking anyone who may have witnessed suspicious activity in the area or may have been driving through Hambridge Road late last night, may have captured the incident on dashcam footage to call Crime Stoppers.
A motorbike rider has lost his licence after being caught speeding at Hallett Cove last night. He was clocked on Lonsdale Highway doing 170 k's an hour in an 80 zone. The 40-year-old man from Christie's Downs has been issued with a 12-month loss of licence and reported for extreme speed. His bike's also been impounded for 28 days. The opposition says the federal government's planned changes to superannuation are there. Around 80,000 Australians with super balances over $3 million will be taxed 30% from 2025. The coalition's warning it won't be the only change. Nationals MP David Littleproud says hard-working Aussies will lose out.
So there's people that have done the right thing, played by the rules, and they've now got past $3 million. And they're saying, well, that's bad luck, we're going to tax you on that. That you've had no time to change those investment vehicles to do whatever you need to. That's not the Australian way. That's not fair.
People living in regional areas are 5 times more likely to die on the roads compared to their city-based counterparts. New data from the federal government shows more than 1,000 people were killed on the nation's roads last year. That's a jump of more than 5% on the previous year. FIVEAA Managing Director Michael Bradley says they want more information to determine how best to save lives.
Australia's motoring clubs want governments to release the data they have on road trauma so we can all know what is working, what isn't working, and what we can do to save lives.
The man accused of killing Toy Accordingly near Cairns is being extradited to Australia. More from Christina Hearn.
Rawinder Singh was escorted through New Delhi airport last night by Indian authorities before being handed over to Queensland Police at the gate for the flight back to Australia. The Qantas flight to Melbourne is expected to land around midday. It's understood Singh will have to first front court in Melbourne before being moved to Brisbane. Singh is accused of killing Toy Accordingly on a beach outside Cairns in 2018. He flew to India a day after her body was found, leaving behind his wife and 3 children. He was arrested in November last year after Queensland Police posted a $1 million reward for information. Singh maintains his innocence.
Live Golf is already proving a big hit with general admission tickets sold out. More than 42,000 fans have purchased tickets and 40% of those have come from interstate or overseas. Tourism Minister Zoe Bettison says it's a chance for SA to showcase what we've got to offer.
The international golf community is excited about this event. We can't wait to host them here in Adelaide.
China's accusing the US of overreacting after federal employees were ordered to remove TikTok from government-issued phones. Lauren Tomasi's in the US.
The White House has given government agencies 30 days to remove the Chinese-owned TikTok app from federal devices, with China's foreign ministry accusing America of abusing state power to suppress foreign firms. The US isn't alone in the ban. The European Commission has also suspended the app on corporate phones, and Canada has moved to block the app from its government-issued devices. TikTok has faced allegations that it collects user data and hands it to the Chinese government. Today, Congress will debate legislation that could give President Joe Biden the authority to ban TikTok nationwide.
Now turning to FIVEAA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Port Adelaide's players will train today as they fine-tune ahead of tomorrow's practice match against Fremantle. Power assistant coach Hamish Hartlett telling Rowie and Timmy G he expects a few players who didn't play last week against West Coast to come in.
Charlie, Darcy Burn-Jones, even Travis had a decent run around, Zach Butters as well. We expect a lot of those guys to play some minutes actually on Thursday night.
The Crows will enjoy a quiet day ahead of their final practice match against West Coast on Friday night. They're set to train again tomorrow. All right, let's get to cricket, and Aussie all-rounder Cam Green is expected to play in today's third test against India in Indore. It's not known if South Aussie Travis Head will open or bat at number 5. Meantime, the test series between England and New Zealand has finished in a 1-1 draw after the Black Caps won a thriller by just the 1 run in Wellington. Well, the 5th round of the FA Cup is underway, and Manchester City is currently 1-0 up against Bristol City with about 15 minutes left in the opening half. Brighton leads Stoke 1-0, while Blackburn is a surprise 1-0 leader against Leicester. And in some hockey news, the Pro League, the Hockey Roos have defeated Argentina 2-0 in Tasmania. The Kookaburras, though, which is the men's side, have gone down in a shootout 4-2, also to the South Americans. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now to the traffic.
Bathroom Works quick and affordable bathroom makeovers. Get a quote at bathroomwerx.com.
Good morning. Roads are working pretty well this morning. However, we do have traffic lights playing up at Port Adelaide. That's causing a few delays around Grand Junction Road near Port Road. Slow going at the moment. South Road at Theberton. Busy at Bedford Park with those works on the Southern Expressway. 2 lanes closed as you're heading into the city with speeds reduced. With cameras today, McGill Road, McGill and Tusmore Avenue at Tusmore. This March, Bob Jane T-Marts have great buy 3, get 1 free, plus instant cashback deals. With 15 stores located in Adelaide, they'll look after you. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Tintillating, subversive, Rouge is back with death-defying acrobatics, grandiose cabaret and twisted burlesque. Book via The Fringe.
Cloudy and 24 today, the same tomorrow. Friday, mostly sunny, 26 and 28 for Saturday. At the moment, 14. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
7 after 7, welcome to the 1st of March if you're joining us for the first time on this Wednesday morning. That means Sean Fuster's coming up after 7:30, the host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch at 8:30. Some news to start your day. We have finally some concrete parameters around which to discuss the proposed changes to superannuation. This has been a conversation mired in speculation for the better part of the last fortnight following the Federal Treasurer's well, it felt like a kite-flying exercise. Now there's some meat on the bone, though. The superannuation changes announced yesterday will impact 80,000 people in the first year of operation. People with more than $3 million in their super account will have their earnings on super above the $3 million threshold taxed at 30% as opposed to the 15% flat rate that it is at the moment. The bottom line for the budget is $2 billion gets added in. And the government at pains to stress that only 1% of Australians will be impacted by this. And I actually think perhaps the most interesting tidbit that came out of the announcement yesterday was the Prime Minister saying the changes will not take place until the 1st of July 2025. That means it's after the next election and is a bid to head off criticism about a broken promise that he made in the lead up to the last election and having to hear this repeated ad nauseum.
We've said we have no intention of making any super changes.
No intention of making any super changes. That was before the election. Here is the Prime Minister yesterday.
Today I'm announcing that earnings on super balances above $3 million will have a concessional rate of 30% rather than 15%. 99.5% of people with superannuation are unaffected by this reform.
So on that, Albanese has at least done the right thing by making it something on which he will now have to seek a mandate. And if you think back to the 1998 election where John Howard was seeking a second term, prior to 1996, when the Libs were still almost running away from the legacy of the Hewson era or Fight Back and Jobs Back, where they went to the people with a massively radical platform of introducing a GST, total reform of the labour market. John Howard said in 1996, there will never, ever be a GST. He said it's dead, it's buried. Never, ever were the words that he used. So prior to the 98 election, he said, actually, I've looked at this again. I remember it clear as a bell. It was on the Channel 9's now defunct Sunday program. He went on with Laurie Oakes in about 97. About a year out from the election, and he said, I've reviewed my position on a GST, and we are now going to introduce one. But in order to do that, he had to win the 1998 election. Well, in order to make these superannuation changes, Anthony Albanese now has to win the 2025 election against a Liberal Party, which is now arguing that this is an attack on aspiration, it's an attack on self-improvement, it's an attack on getting ahead. But by doing what he's done, Albanese has at least made it something which is now up to the Australian people to decide. And Labor clearly is confident that they can win the argument by saying well, it's only the mega rich that we're talking about here. I think a lot of people will still struggle with the concept, though, because one thing is is it $3 million forever? I mean, you talk about inflation at the moment, rocketing along the way it does. Surely it's going to go up from like 3 to 3.1 to 3.2 to 3.4?
I think that makes people nervous as well, the idea that it's a live conversation all the time based on the whim of the government of the day. Sam on the Dutton's text line says that this super change won't affect me, but my worry is that this change is just the start. Where will it stop? And you're absolutely right. Inflation is one thing and wage growth is the other. Wage growth's been flat. And this is a government that's promising to increase it, or create the economic conditions where wages grow. Well, if wages grow, the number of people that are captured by this might be 1% today, but it's not going to. That's as low as it'll ever be.
There's a broader issue though about, and Terry McCram makes the point very well in his column today in the News Corp papers, where he says, well, what if you've got a house that's worth $6 million? You know, just through the lottery of life, and like, don't laugh. In Sydney, not 6 million. But in Sydney, there's a lot of pretty normal homes now in Sydney that are worth close to $2 million.
Mm-hmm. So
what's the difference between dying and bequeathing a house that's worth that much to your kids? You know, and as I was reading the McCran column, I was thinking, geez, Terry, you're a brave man saying this out loud, because in the current climate, someone in Treasury might go, here's an idea.
Well, and there's a whole group of recently retired people who are, or near to be retired people who were caught up in a scheme just recently, the downsizers scheme, where you could go out of your family home and put that money into super. If you did that with the full value of a home going in, because you may have been, if you were living mortgage free, that probably puts you in this category or very close to it, and you probably don't consider yourself rich. So There are definitely going to be losers as a result of this. Interested in what people think, though. 8223 More Dutton's texts coming through. I think Bianca in Larg says, I think the majority of us general Joes are okay with this. If you have $3 million in super, things ain't too bad. And Ed from Beulah Park says, what about the politicians, for example, Albo, who had over $10 million in super?
Well, this is right. Every politician who's involved in this debate who was elected prior to 2004, they're not retrospectively applying any of the super changes to the rort of a pension that they all enjoy.
Our statsman Ben Jordan puts this in an excellent context for us on Twitter. He says the estimated $2 billion in super concessions, that's the money that comes back into the budget as a result of this change, is just 0.25% of the total budget when it starts in 2026. Post-COVID, the federal government spent $166 billion extra per year, more than they did just 4 years ago. It is a drop in the ocean.
Let us know what you think, folks. The government will be hoping that there's more people out there like Bianca in Largs to win this debate.
The interesting piece in the Tiser that I know Matt Pantelis is going to do more on after 9 o'clock this morning, from the RAA, who are celebrating some 20 years since we changed from the 60 being the default speed limit in South Australia to 50. They're saying it saved hundreds of lives on the road. The data released to the Tiser says there's been a 36% drop in annual fatal and serious injury crashes. In the 5 years prior to the default speed limit reduction, which came to effect on the 1st of March 2003, there was an annual average of 1,369 fatal and serious injury crashes on SA roads. That number's now more like 867. So there's been a huge change. It was controversial at the time, and the expectation from people was it was going to be more confusing than it's probably ultimately ended up being. But we do have a scenario sometimes where in certain suburbs you can be in 3 different speed zones.
I'll tell you what, if you want to do your head in at the moment, just drive from Sellex to Seaford. I reckon there's about 5 different speed zones there at the moment. There's one where the old roundabout used to be at Aldinga. There's a 40, there's a 60, there's an 80, there's a 90s. Take your pick.
We might do a poll on this after 7:30, because the RAA is saying you reduce the speed, you save lives. There is the range of areas where if you had to pick a reduction in speed limit, which no one's probably going to do off their own back, but if you're forced to, it makes an interesting conversation for our poll that's coming up after 7:30 today. This is a fascinating story out of the United States this morning.
Here in Washington tonight, the crackdown on TikTok continues. The White House today gave government agencies 30 days to remove the video sharing app from all federal devices and computer systems. The Office of Management and Budget says the move is aimed at protecting U.S. data. Officials suspect that China is using the app to spy on Americans. The ban does not impact the more than 100 million Americans and teens who use TikTok on non-government devices.
So the European Union and Canada have made similar moves in recent weeks. You'd expect, given these are our key partners and allies in the world, that something similar will take place here in Australia. we'll get to China's response in just a moment. First, here's Professor Karen North, a social media expert from the University of Southern California.
TikTok is a giant data collection machine. And so the question is, should the data collection machine be on the phones of people who have secure, potentially, important confidential information on their phones?
A spokesperson quoted by CNN this morning, Mao Ning from the Chinese Foreign Ministry, says the US government should respect the principles of market economy and fair competition. Sorry, I'm laughing. Stop suppressing companies and provide an open, fair and non-discriminatory environment for foreign companies in the US. How unsure of itself can the world's top superpower like the US be to fear young people's favourite app like that?
I don't know who writes all these statements for the Chinese, but they're terrific. They've all got this sort of excellent Cold War quality to them. We did an interview about this sort of presaging what the Yanks have just done with the former Industry Minister Tom Kenyon only a couple of weeks ago about the evidence they've amassed about how much unnecessary information and data TikTok seems to want to hoover up. So, maybe it's not all the frivolous fun it's made out to be.
17 minutes after 7, we're going to check traffic and come back with a close look at a medical recall that may affect more people than you instantly think. That's coming up in a moment. Traffic first.
Thanks, Will. Not looking too bad on the roads this morning. However, do have traffic lights playing up at Port Adelaide at the moment. Grand Junction Road near Port Road. Take extra care if you're heading through there this morning. Starting to get busy at South Road at Theberton. It is slow going right now at Bedford Park. That's for those works on the Southern Expressway. Got a couple of lanes out of action and speeds reduced on your drive into the city. And got cameras McGill Road, McGill and Hay Road at Linden Park. Red Roosters, $2.50 snack subs, each with succulent chicken, crisp lettuce and your choice of sauce packed into a sub. The Roosters calling, get it where you can, while you can, available all day. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA Mornings with Matthew Pantelis.
Census. This is Georgia Chapman from the ABS.
Right now, we need to understand what the Australian public would like the census to collect.
I mean, what else do they need to know? What, have you ever seen an alien? Ever had a close encounter of a third kind? Maybe that should be it.
Weekday mornings from 9.
Should pineapple be on a pizza? What do they need to know that they don't already know, for goodness sake?
On 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Adelaide Direct Stationers is much more than just stationery. Did you know we're one of South Australia's largest suppliers of PPE, washroom supplies, technology products, office furniture, cleaning products, workplace health and safety, snacks and refreshments. Adelaide Direct Stationers. Get free next day delivery with orders over $50 or same day 2-hour express delivery. Order at AdelaideDirectStationers.com.au.
Right now, we need a saviour, a mortgage saviour. Last week, one 5AA listener rang Vince at Mortgage Saviour. They reworked their mortgage payments and saved $9,000 just in the first year. It's their mission to get you mortgage free as soon as possible. With more interest rate hikes on the horizon, it's important to talk to Vince at Mortgage Saviour on 1300 99 886. Find out what a mortgage saviour can do for you. Go to mortgagesaviour.com.au. T's and C's apply.
Hey, you in the car. If your next service is due, just remember that Mawson Lakes Mazda has your back. We'll take care of you with next day servicing, complimentary loan car, vacuum and wash, and your breakfast or lunch is on us. Your car gets the love too, with our state-of-the-art service centre brimming with top-trained mechanics. At Mawson Lakes Mazda, we'll look after your car and look after you. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
Twenty minutes after 7, the Therapeutic Goods Administration has recalled 44 products containing a cough suppressant, folcodeine, after investigation linked the ingredient with an increased risk of reactions to the drugs that are used during when you're on a general anaesthetic. Professor Ian Ray from Melbourne University School of Chemistry joins us on 5AA Breakfast. Professor, good morning to you. Can you talk to us about the sorts of products that contain this ingredient?
They're mainly
lotions and lozenges that you can suck to depress a dry cough. And this substance is a morphine derivative, so it's one of those things that just tone down the body reactions to pain or coughs and things like that. And it's been used for a long time. What's turned up now is that the interaction with other drugs is dangerous. And that's really hard to check. You ask, why didn't they know that in the first place? Well, the answer is you can't check every possible drug pair just to make sure there's no interaction. And that's what's happened. So along the way, evidence started to accumulate that people who suffered from this anaphylactic shock had two drugs in their system that were interacting. It's very hard to prove that sort of thing, and it's almost impossible to do the experiments. Hey, let's take some people and give them a shot of both this and see what happens. So these are accidents that have been followed up, and finally the penny dropped that these two things are interacting, and we better get rid of one of them. And the one that the TGA and other administrators have chosen to get rid of is the one that's been used for suppressing coughs. So a lot of people would already have this on the shelf, I guess.
And isn't the advice, Professor, and this, so the thing, it's like the interplay between the drugs that you have if you're having a general anaesthetic and the fact that you might have eaten or ingested some of these lozenges or cough syrups like Benadryl, Codral, cough mixture in the last 12 months. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I'm surprised that 12 months is the timeline. But yes, that's right. When you have surgery, it depends a bit on what it is. If they're just cutting off a cyst on your arm or something, it probably doesn't matter. But if they're doing orthopedic surgery like bones, and I've had my knees replaced, so I know what that's like. You normally get a muscle relaxance so that the body isn't tensed up while the surgeon's trying to manipulate you and pull the joints around and things like that. That's fairly common, and it just flies under the radar. They've been used for years and years and years. And then when something like this turns up, there's a detective story starts. How the hell did this happen? Did people just have a shock for no reason at all, like they had a bee sting or a wasp, or what was it? And so it's been a very nice piece of detective work to track down the possible interaction here. That's what's going on.
So if you are someone who then, let's say they use the knee replacement example, you've got a knee replacement, but you've had Benadryl or Chemisone or one of these, Difflam or one of these products within 12 months. What happens to you next? Do you have to wait a longer period of time? Can you be given something else that means you can then go ahead and have the surgery?
I think if you notify the anaesthetist in particular, when you're having surgery, in the case of my knee, there's somebody operating at both ends of you. The surgeon's chopping away at my knee, and the anaesthetist is keeping an eye on my breathing and the anaesthetic that I'm under. And it's the anaesthetist's job to make sure you stay alive. So if they're forewarned, they can take the right action. They can be ready to deal with any anaphylactic shock that you get. If they see it coming, they can take precautions and deal with it.
So it's not like you should cancel your operation then. It's more just let them know.
You should let them know that that's what you've been doing. So, if you're having an operation like that, you'd normally have to tell them if you're taking blood thinners as well. That's a standard question. In fact, even if you go to the dentist for an extraction or something like that, you've got to tell them, hey, I'm on aspirin or Xarelto or something else, some blood thinner.
Yeah.
You've got to let them know about that. So that's fairly normal stuff.
Great explanation, Professor Ray. Ian Ray from the Melbourne University School of Chemistry. Fascinating stuff.
It's 25 minutes after 7. Time to turn our attention to sport. On the sports show last night, they had such success and such great debate and fun putting together the Sandful team of the 70s. Rowie and Timmy G now doing the team of the 80s.
Let's get the drum roll. Let's get ready.
Your beauty.
Because Timmy G has got all the listeners' nominations. And here is the back six for our team of the decade, the 1980s.
Ultimate 80s team. Okay, from the full back line, Ross Gibbs.
Had to.
Tom Warhurst.
Oh, well done, listeners.
Just pipped Parker for full back.
All right.
Big Maxi. In the other back pocket, Martin Leslie. Everybody admired him and loved him.
He got a lot of he got as many nominations as
the next bloke.
Yeah,
Bruce Lindsay.
Bruce Lindsay got a lot.
He came with a big run at the end.
And rightly so.
Centre half back, there wasn't one other person voted for.
G. Phillips.
G. Phillips. Just
the big flipper.
Outstanding. Kuchi, done. And the other bloke who won the half-back flank by quite a distance was John Riley.
Yes.
So the professor.
A lot of North supporters.
Yeah. Two people that are on the bench for the defence are Peter Motley and Bruce Abernathy.
Yeah.
Not
Popular
bad players. Fairly good 8 defenders that we have been able to pick. Thank you to the lucky listeners. I think we go forwards tomorrow.
Okay.
Let's go for the forwards in the ultimate team of the 80s.
And listeners,
Start
do what
thinking
you
about your
did with the
forwards.
70s. Don't go putting a midfielder there because you can't squeeze him in the midfield.
No.
We picked the best person for that position.
All right. Got to say, putting Peter Motley on the bench strikes me as pretty stupid. If that bloke hadn't had that shocking car accident, he would have been one of the top 10 AFL players of all time.
Awful. That's a really sad story.
Oh, it's a shocking story. Amazing story of survival, though, by Motts.
Forward of the who pops out? You're into your sort of sample-loving heyday in the 80s?
No, I'm 70s. Like, the 80s was when I started to sort of drift off.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was more the 70s.
Well, you were a teenager. So when you were a teenager?
Yeah, I was still into it, but not as much. The 70s for me was the real.
So what was the peak of your football fandom?
Oh, sadly, 1978.
How old were you then?
I was 9.
9.
Yeah. I was really, really into it prior to being a teenager.
I'm just trying to think. I don't want listeners too.
So I was Bagshaw, Heinrich, Davies, Graham.
What age as a child are you most
Craig
into it?
when he played for Sturt, when he left Norwood and played for Sturt for a while. Eddie Fry. I think the sweet spot for footy is probably when you're about 10 years old, when you really go totally nuts for it.
Oh, I reckon it's slightly older. We just know what our listeners think. What's the age you're most into it? Maybe it's right now.
I reckon for you it's right now.
It just changes every year. It's this year again. Looking forward to that team of the 80s. We'll have it all revealed with the forwards now, the forward line tonight.
The duffel coat. The duffel coat answers the question. In what year was your duffel coat at its most decorated?
That's a great question. 5AA News is coming up, then we're going around the courts with Sean Fuster.
When it comes to wiping out flies and mozzies, we're prepared to go nuclear. But what about the fallout on your family? EcoMist is a natural insect killer. It uses natural pyrethrins to be an effective and ecological insect control product. EcoMist dispensers can be programmed to your needs with 24-hour protection for your home, your cafe or your office. Wipe out flies and mozzies and stay safe around your family. Order yours today at ecomist.com.au.
For over 55 years, Fairmont Homes have been one of SA's most trusted home builders. And when it comes to quality at unbeatable value, it's always Fairmont. And right now, when you build with Fairmont, you'll receive free luxury kitchen and bathroom upgrades, free 2.7 metre high ceilings, plus free air. An offer this good has to be for a limited time only, so get in quick. For more details, visit fairmonthomes.com.au. T's and C's apply.
The track saw you've been looking for is here. Introducing the new Milwaukee M18 Fuel 165mm track saw for clean cuts and a clean job site. The new track saw delivers the power to cut solid hardwoods, portable precision and effective dust management. Make every cut count, even in the most challenging finish, fit out and cabinet making applications. Buy your M18 Fuel 165mm track saw from your nearest Milwaukee authorised retailer. Milwaukee, nothing but heavy duty.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 24 with the 7:30 news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Check out Gliderroll Garage Doors' new Timber Look Native Series sectional doors. Gliderroll.com.au.
A man was bashed unconscious at Davern Park last night. Police and ambulance crews were called to Hambridge Road after he was found lying next to the road with head and facial injuries. The 34-year-old was taken to the RAH in a serious but stable condition. Police believe he'd been assaulted at a nearby property before being moved to the location where he was found. A motorbike rider was clocked 90 k's over the limit at Hallett Cove last night. Senior Constable Matt Brown says he was doing 170 in an 80 zone on Lonsdale Highway.
The rider, a 40-year-old man from Christie Downs, was stopped by police and issued an immediate 12-month loss of licence notice, and he was reported for driving at an extreme speed. His bike was impounded for 28 days. The man will be summoned to appear in court at a later date.
Some analysts believe the federal government needs to make major economic reforms to get the nation's finances back on track. The tax rate on super balances above $3 million will increase to 30% from 2025. The move will affect 80,000 people but improve the budget bottom line by around $2 billion a year. Australia Institute senior economist Matt Goodenough says there's more the government can do.
One of the really, really large ones, far bigger than the super change, is the Stage 3 tax cuts. Do we really want to hand out over $9,000 a year to people earning more than $200,000 a year? Probably not, particularly if we want better funding for aged care and health.
The confidential information of ANZ customers has been found in a rubbish skip in Perth. The documents in the bin in the city's southeast included bank statements, emails, account numbers and other personal details. They'd been thrown out in a clean-up after the local branch closed its doors. It might be almost 2 months away, but excitement's building ahead of the Live Golf event at the Grange Golf Club. Tourism Minister Zoe Bettison says ticket sales have been going off.
With general admission tickets now exhausted, more than 42,000 fans have purchased tickets for the April 21 to 23 event. We can't wait to see it being held at the Grange Golf Club.
Corporate hospitality tickets go on sale to the public tomorrow. There are calls for tighter regulations on household alcohol deliveries. Uni of New South Wales researcher Stephanie Colbert says governments need to make changes.
Anyone in any bottle shop must have a responsible service of alcohol certification. So it would make sense that that is mirrored in the online alcohol delivery world, but it currently isn't.
Police in Italy have arrested 3 people on suspicion of people trafficking following the deaths of at least 64 migrants off the coast this week. Their overloaded vessel tried to make it from Turkey to Italy despite treacherous weather. Now turning to FIVEAA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Rand.
Thank you, Kendall. Australia will be looking to bounce back and keep its chances of levelling the Test series alive when the third Test against India gets underway in Indore later today, our time. Much has been made of the pitches, with accusations from many commentators and analysts they're being doctored to favour the home side. Former Aussie fast bowler Michael Kasprowicz telling Rowie and Timmy G that's rubbish and the players need to put it out of their mind.
You know, there's nothing wrong with the pitch. You know, all the pitches have just been your typical Indian wicket. There's nothing doctored about it. And, you know, just the way we played, I suppose, and that's it. Own that outcome.
To football, and Port Adelaide's players will train today ahead of tomorrow night's practice match against Fremantle in WA. Meantime, Ross Lyon claims the current crop of St Kilda players are much more aerobically fit than previous groups he's coached. The new Saints coach telling Wide World of Sports the majority of players recorded personal best times for the 3-kilometre time trial.
In simple terms, at the Dockers and the Saints, and some clubs do 2K, some do 3. I'm used to a 3K'er. I only had 3 players at St Kilda and Fremantle that ran under 10 minutes. Here I've got 12. So That's an improvement there.
And there are 4 fifth-round FA Cup matches that are on this morning, and we'll have a look at them now. Manchester City currently leading Bristol City 1-0 early in the second half. Fulham is 2-0 up against Leeds. Blackburn is 2-1 leaders over Leicester City, while it's almost full-time in the other match. Brighton with a 1-0 lead over Stoke City. And that's the FIVEAA Sport.
Now checking FIVEAA traffic.
Bathroom Works quick and affordable bathroom makeovers. Get a quote at bathroomwerx.com.
We've got traffic lights on the blink this morning at Port Adelaide, Grand Junction Road near Port Road. Busy right now, South Road at Febberton, also West Terrace at Great Street. Woodville Park's pretty slow with works. Port Road near Garth Street, and Bedford Park is slow on the Southern Expressway. 2 lanes closed as you're heading into the city. Speeds reduced there as well. Cameras this morning, McGill Road, McGill and Osmond Terrace at Norwood. Get into your Ford dealership quick and get into an Everest quicker with Ambiente in stock now. See Ford.com.au for details. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on FIVEAA.
Tintillating, subversive, Rouge is back with death-defying acrobatics, grandiose cabaret and twisted burlesque. Book via The Fringe.
Cloudy and 24 today, cloudy again tomorrow, 24, mostly sunny Friday, 26 and 28 for Saturday. At the moment, 15. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
24 minutes to 8.
It's time to go around the courts with Sean Fuster on 5AA Breakfast.
Speak Up with Crime Stoppers, independent charity empowering you to keep your community safe, supported by Police Credit Union. Sean Fuster, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we today?
Very well, thank you, Sean.
Now, I want to talk about wills today. I mean, he's right there. For anybody watching on the live stream.
What have I done now?
Well, isn't that the question? No, I want to talk about how important it is to have a will. Because if you don't have a will, there's all sorts of problems. We know last year, very famously, Chadwick Boseman, one of my favourite actors who played the Black Panther, passed away without a will, and that left an estate battle over his millions and millions of dollars. But we've had a very sad situation here in South Australia over the holidays. Very sad. This is a story I did the other day for the Tiser and for the Sunday Mail. We're talking about a man by the name of Joshua Wade Marshall. Mr. Marshall died in December, and his partner, Claire Elson, found him, and obviously traumatised, upset, tried to organise a funeral. When it came time to organise the funeral with the help of the very lovely people at Barossa Valley Funerals, they sorted everything out, arranged the cremation, everything that she wanted. Ashes were going to be delivered, to family members and things like that, divided between them. Mr. Marshall's parents turned up, and they said, hang on, we're Catholic, our son was Catholic, you can't cremate him, you need to bury him in the family plot in the Barossa. Because Mr. Marshall died without a will, this triggers a court battle.
Oh, really?
Not just any court battle, though. 6 judges, 2 stays, a trial and 3 appeals, all in 25 days.
During which he's still at the funeral home.
At the funeral home, yeah.
Waiting for it to be resolved.
That's right, because the parents came in and said, look, we've got this religious objection to what you're trying to do. She's saying, well, this the last thing that he said to me was, if I ever pass away before you do, I'd like to be cremated, and this is what I'd like done with my ashes. But he never stopped and wrote it down, never stopped and got a will. No fault on him. A lot of us don't have wills.
Was he young?
33.
Yeah, right, okay.
So it's not the sort of thing that you necessarily stop and think about at 33, that you're going to need a will.
Well, have you guys got
really
wills?
soon.
You're younger than me.
I've got a will that needs to be updated.
Same.
Well, I'm 53. I only did my will about 2 years ago.
There you go.
So how does the court assess, is the court's job to assess what his likely wishes would have been?
Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine that. And of
How
course,
do they do that? They got a Ouija board or something?
well, we're in a court of civil jurisdiction here, so it's not proof beyond reasonable doubt, it's proof on the balance of probabilities. One of the arguments that the Marshall parents made was that Ms. Elson and Mr. Marshall were no longer partners. Therefore, as a result of being estranged, that Claire should have no right in actually saying anything to do with Joshua's funeral. So she had to come to court and prove, on the balance of probabilities, they were actually still partners. Imagine in your grief, in your trauma, actually having the added burden of trying to prove that you were in love with the person that you were in love with and they were in love with you back.
Had they separated, though? They weren't living together? Or?
Not according to the court. According to the court, they were still partners. That was the ultimate ruling of the court, which is why the parents kept appealing again and again and again.
So was he cremated in the end?
He was cremated in the end after the Court of Appeal came down with quite a strong judgment that literally said the words, this lawsuit must end, because it had been going for 25 days while Mr. Marshall's body was, as you say, in state at the Barossa Valley Funerals. Interestingly enough, what came up in the final judgment was a little hint as to what might have been going on under the surface. Court of Appeal President Mark Livesey made a reference to the fact that the parents had made a legal argument about the crown on the coat of arms and whether or not that was valid under Australian law. So things were starting to tip a little bit toward that sovereign city. Yeah, that sovereign citizen kind of argument. Does this court actually have jurisdiction? The sort of things that we see in election challenges, the sort of things we see in parking challenges. There was a bit of that just creeping into the documentation toward the end, especially when they asked for the entire judgment to be put on hold one more time so they could appeal to the High Court.
They clearly are of means then, aren't they?
Well, they have resources at least.
That can't be a cheap
deep pockets
exercise.
Not at all. And you've got to apply for special leave. You've got to argue before the High Court that there's been a significant miscarriage of justice. Now, full props to these people for clearly loving their son and wanting to do what they felt was right by him. But
and sticking to their faith and all that.
Sticking to their faith. But you've got to ask yourself, where's the stopping point? I mean, like I say, 6 different judges, 2 arguments about a stay of judgment, a full trial before Judge Bochner, and 3 separate appeals. This was a marathon. Like, this is the sort of case that goes for decades in the courts, and yet it was all compressed into 25 days.
The stink was only over the nature of his burial, nothing to do with his assets and how they were divided up.
Nothing to do with that at all, although the appeals court judge said that that's a question that also seems to be creeping into the documentation toward the end.
I can never understand how people actually end up going to court over someone's will. Like, the whole thing just seems quite sort of mercenary.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad enough that someone's died, but you know, the idea that you'll go down the road to your local dentist and a lawyer and say, I really want the fridge and the Chesterfield, and we didn't get enough, and we feel like we were more close to that person than the divvying up of the goods reflects.
Well, I'm not going to assert greed on anybody, but I am going to say this: never underestimate the power of sentimentality and nostalgia. The idea that when someone you love is gone, in that moment of trauma, the idea that the Chesterfield, the jacket, the ornament is exactly what you want and need in order to be able to remember them is an incredibly powerful, possibly even intoxicating element.
I sort of understand it more so in terms of divvying up a giant estate. That could go to the court because things can get complicated and the interpretation of things you might not be able to resolve. This just feels overwhelmingly sad, this story, because you'd think something as fundamental and basic as what to do with the person's remains after they've died, you'd like to think it just could be resolved amongst family members.
And yet there's that, and no criticism here, there's that religious divide there. The idea that one faith says you cannot be cremated, you must be buried. His final wishes, according to his widow, were that he wanted to be cremated. That's a big thing for a lot of people to jump right there. The idea that the final thing your son, daughter, loved one does is against the religion that you were all part of at one stage.
Is cremation a no-no in the Catholic Church?
It's typically you're buried.
Yeah, okay. Didn't know that.
Also, part of it was...
I don't know that it's...
Not being of the one true faith like you were.
No, but it's traditionally you get buried.
And the other part of it, of course, is wanting him to be buried within the family plot rather than divided between the children.
You just get overwhelmingly, both sides of this are motivated by a love for family and a love for this person, aren't they? You know, it's
no
not
matter
really
what filter it goes through.
It's an ugly process, but they're both coming from... Because you imagine his partner too was saying, well, I heard him.
That's right.
From her perspective, I want to do what he actually said, and they wonder if that's real because of all that preceded it. Yeah, it's quite a sad story, that one.
I mean, it's great that we have courts for exactly this, and full commendation to all 6 of those judges. You read through the judgments, which you can actually see, as Daniel will tease me, on my favourite website, ostley.edu.au. You read through the judgments and you can see the compassion coming from everyone from the Chief Justice on down in terms of dealing with both sets of family and trying to say to them, this is the way forward, this is the way through. It's not until that very final judgment where President Livesey says this needs to end that you get that sense that finality has come.
Fascinating, as always, Sean.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Excellent stuff, Sean.
Sean Fewster, the excellent advertiser, court reporter and podcaster extraordinaire, Just Lawful, radio host as well, I guess you say. You're across all the media.
Co-host.
Renaissance man.
Co-host.
Let's face it, Daniel does the heavy lifting.
And soon to be... immortalised in film, I'm sure, as well. Sean Fewster, Speak Up with Crime Stoppers, independent charity empowering you to keep your community safe, supported by Police Credit Union. All right, let's check traffic and come back with more in just a moment.
At St George's, got a breakdown on Port Rice Road near Bevington Road. Busy at the moment, South Road at Theberton. West Terrace at Great Street, also pretty sluggish. And we've got work slowing things up today at Wingfield, Salisbury Highway near the Wingfield ramp. A few cameras around this morning, including Grants Gully Road, Clarendon, and Penfold Road at Rosslyn Park. The mid-season sale is on at Amart. Save big with up to 50% of a huge range of furniture and up to 50% of mattresses. Offer ends soon, so hurry into Amart. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Hey, you in the car. If your next service is due, just remember that Mawson Lakes Mazda has your back. We'll take care of you with next day servicing, complimentary loan car, vacuum and wash, and your breakfast or lunch is on us. Your car gets the love too, with our state-of-the-art service centre brimming with top-trained mechanics. At Mawson Lakes Mazda, we'll look after your car and look after you. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
Have you got your ticket in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery? You could win the $3.5 million grand prize in Henley Beach that comes with $250,000 in cash. You'll feel like you're on a holiday all year round in the luxurious Scott Salisbury home. Don't miss your chance to live mortgage-free by the beach. Join the fight. To see full lottery details and get your tickets, visit homelottery.com.au. Licence M14311.
BDO Fast Move has recognised the most innovative, smartest and fastest growing South Australian businesses.
If your business turns over 200,000 plus per year, then nominate now at fastmoverssa.com.au.
Nominations are open until March 19, and thanks to the Fast Movers SA sponsors, there are some pretty amazing prizes to be won.
At FIVEAA, we love celebrating South Australian businesses, and that's exactly what the Fast Movers competition does, recognising SA's fastest growing, most innovative and arguably smartest businesses.
So put yourself out there, nominate now at fastmoverssa.com.au, proudly supported by 1395 Adelaide's FIVEAA.
It's Shingles Awareness Week. Do you know your risk? About 1 in 3 people will develop shingles in their lifetime. If you're aged 50 and over, talk to a healthcare professional and visit noshingles.com.au to learn more. Sponsored by GSK Melbourne.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
12 to 8, John Blake coming up in just a moment.
We've been chatting this morning about this Peruvian chap who fell in love with an 800-year-old mummy called Juanita, kept her in an esky, and they'd become a bit of an item, the pair. I was thinking, though, it gave me an idea for a dating show for Incans.
Oh.
Perfect Machu Picchu. What do you think?
Like peaches and cream, and the consular team, like sand in the sea, and birds at the beach, like an oyster and a pearl.
I think of all the sick things that I've heard on television, that might be right up there, which is not to say it wouldn't be made or watched. There's a streaming service that needs made. Perfect Machu Picchu.
Better than the Mayan version, which is called Sacrificed at First Sight. How the hell was Perfect Match so popular? What was it that made it so popular? It was a juggernaut of a program. Greg Evans, Debbie Newsom, and of course Dexter, the robot, that worked out your compatibility score.
It was the start of reality TV, wasn't it?
Pretty much. In Australia it was.
Yeah.
It was a huge show.
All The Bachelor and all those kind of things owe their
I reckon a lot of our listeners will remember
Match.
in the 80s running home from school going, I've got to get home in time for Perfect Match. And some of the questions, because it was really loose, like it was morally questionable, that show, which is one of the things that made it so edgy. And Dexter would sit there going, waving his little arms around.
A few texts on the Dutton's text line have come in with regard to cremation. Really good information. This one doesn't have a name. Says many Catholics believe that cremation will prevent resurrection of the body and therefore prefer a traditional burial. Since 1973, however, the Church has permitted cremation and taught that the human body's cremation is not a sinful act. Dave has said something similar. He says you can do it. The Pope himself said it is all okay.
One from Lisa as well, saying, good morning, Dave and Will. My beautiful late husband and I are Catholic. I'm against cremation. However, my husband had always said he wanted to be cremated. It was difficult, but being cremated was his wish, and we were still able to have a religious ceremony. Thank you for that, Lisa.
It's been 20 years since we changed the default speed limit in South Australia to 50 k's an hour. Charles Mountain from the RAA joins us on 5AA Breakfast. And Charles, just having a look at this data that you guys have put out today, it's hard to argue that it's had anything other than a positive impact on reducing both injuries and deaths on our roads.
Good morning. Yes, that's what the data definitely shows, and we thought, given this is the 20th anniversary of the change to the default speed limit, it was worth just reminding people that it has been effective in reducing the number of crashes that we've seen on our roads, particularly involving pedestrians and other vulnerable road users. So we do know at the time it was somewhat controversial, but I think there's a whole generation of people who've grown up with knowing nothing different now other than 50k being the default speed limit. So I think it's pretty well embedded into our culture. And most importantly, it's consistent with what's happened, or what has happened with all the other states across Australia as well.
So, Charles, does that mean that when you see a major road like, thinking Main North Road or Marion Road designated as 60, that's sort of a special variant from the standard 50?
That's correct. So that's the takeout message is default means that if you see no other speed limit signs, then you can assume that in an urban environment, residential area, whatever, then it's, or built up area, in fact, it's 50 k's. Once you get out onto the regional areas, if you don't see any speed limit signs, then the default is 100 k's. But all other roads have a speed limit that's either higher or lower than 50, and typically our arterial roads are designated at 60. And our higher order roads, such as the freeways and that, are usually designated at 110.
Do you reckon there's an argument that we've still got some roads that are designated 60 that should be 50? I'm pretty sure from memory, Prospect Road used to be 60 and is now 50. Yet conversely, something like Unley Road, which is total pain, like it doesn't work at all as a two-lane road, but that's a 60 zone.
And look, we've seen changes to arterial roads, and both Prospect Road and Unley Road represent a very good example of an arterial road, or a lower order arterial road as they're technically known as, but they have a multiple range of functions. So Unley, for example, is large parts of it are strip shopping precincts. So during the peak periods, it carries a lot of traffic. Outside of peak period, it does function as more like that shopping precinct where people are stopping on the roadside, parking, etc. So it does change, and in some cases there's a good argument for having a different speed limit for different times of the day, and that actually has been applied successfully on a stretch of Goodwood Road, around near where all the shopping precincts are, near the Vogue Cinema and the tram crossing. Prospect Road itself has been quite significantly transformed into a more of a precinct and a place environment, if you like, so a lot more activity takes place, and the traffic has been given a lower priority on that particular stretch of road, so hence the lower speed limit. So it's all about perhaps matching the speed more appropriately to the environment, and in some cases the varying function of the road.
I imagine if you plot on a graph speed limit v safety outcome, you'd find that the slower you go, the safer it gets. But at some point in time, there's diminishing returns, and the benefit is outweighed by the inconvenience. But is there another example of a total shift that you could see that would make sense to have to take place in South Australia, like the change of the default speed limit, be it a change to the speed limit on country roads, or be it a wholesale change to speed limits on back streets, for example, where in some areas they're 40 k's an hour, and some people have suggested that should be effectively a default?
Yes, and I think what we've seen where the 40 k's has been introduced in predominantly residential areas and very high pedestrian precinct areas, it has been successful in driving a change in culture, but probably most importantly a change in driver expectation in terms of how you can travel on these roads. At the end of the day, it's important to ensure that the speed limit is low enough to ensure the safety of everyone around, but you made a very important point that we also need to keep the traffic moving safely and effectively as well. For example, there's not much point having a higher speed limit, but the traffic is constantly starting and stopping. It's much better to have it moving at perhaps a slightly slower speed, but maintaining a more steady level of progression as well. So at the end of the day, it makes very little difference to travel times over shorter distances, but what it does do, it creates a safer travel environment. And the critical thing is with the lower speed limits, it reduces the reaction time, or the reaction distance and the stopping distance. So that's why it makes it so much safer where you've got a lot of pedestrian and interaction with other types of vehicle movements.
Charles, appreciate it. I can't believe it's been 20 years since the change got made. Charles Mountain from the RAA. It's 6 minutes to 8 and time for John Blake. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast on 13 13 64.
Yes, Steph?
Good morning, Premier. Tom Coutts-Tonis is here to see you. You can go in. Thank you, Stephanie.
Wait a minute, I didn't say send him in.
I'm sorry you can't go in. What do you mean I can't go in? I'm the Minister for Transport, Infrastructure...
It's okay, send him in.
You can go in. Make up your minds, Stephanie. Energy, mining...
Come in, Tom.
Hello, Premier Peter! Ho-ho!
G'day.
Boy, oh boy, we're running out of events to keep people's minds off the ramping.
What do you want, Tom?
What the hell was that?
More of that stuff falling into the courtyard.
Is that from that building site?
Yeah, it's been going on all day.
Well, why can't you stop it? You're the Premier.
What am I supposed to do about it?
Well, stick your head out the window and tell them that if they're not careful, you'll stop all the work like you did at Lot 14.
I can't stop them from...
Are we ever going to build anything at Lot 14? Or
Of course we are.
do you know that right now there's more construction going on at the old Le Cornu site than there is at Lot 14?
Yeah, I know.
I think it would be really good if we could see the occasional bulldozer at Lot 14. It would
Well,
make-
there would have been, but I had to suspend the building of the Centre for First Nations Culture because...
Oh, yeah, how's that going?
Well, I don't know. They haven't finished the report yet.
What happens if the report says it's still going to cost you an extra $50 million of taxpayer money?
Well, we'll wait and see what happens.
Then you're going to have to say, we've decided not to build a centre for First Nations.
It won't come to that.
You'll end up having to build something else on Lot 14, and by the time that's ready to go, it'll be the next election.
Oh, God.
Have a good day, Premier Peter.
Yeah, up yours, Tom.
We'll have more from John Blake behind closed doors after 8:30.
One text here from Bill saying there's too much confusion with so many different speed limits. I agree with that. We're mentioning before the work down on South Road. And one here saying Prospect Road is 40 k's where all the shops are. Yeah. 50, I think it's 50 when you get out from the parklands, then it goes down to 40.
3 minutes to 8. It is the 1st of March. The big happy birthday to the Royal Australian Navy today that turns 122 years old. It has been a point of contention in the history of the Navy. A lot of people might listen and go, hang on, no, the birth date was the 11th of... it was 1911, which was on the 10th of July. That's when the term Royal Australian Navy was conferred upon the Australian Navy, but according to the Constitution, it officially started on this day in 1901. I suspect we've got probably a whole heap of servicemen and women from the Navy that listen to us.
So we didn't have a Navy at all in the 19th century?
No, not officially. Well, we were part of the British Empire.
Yeah, of course.
So it was the Empire's Navy, but
call on them.
A small consignment of training ships and things was sent to Australia in 1901, and that's now, as of this day, recognised as the official start of the Royal Australian Navy. So it's all the service people out there. A happy birthday to the service. 2 minutes to 8. 5AA News is coming up. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Right now, we need a saviour, a mortgage saviour. Last week, one 5AA listener rang Vince at Mortgage Saviour. They reworked their mortgage payments and saved $9,000 just in the first year. It's their mission to get you mortgage free as soon as possible. With more interest rate hikes on the horizon, it's important to talk to Vince at Mortgage Saviour on 1300 99 886. Find out what a mortgage saviour can do for you. Go to mortgagesaviour.com.au. T's and C's apply.
Hello, Frank Walker from National Tiles. For 43 years, National Tiles has consistently given our customers the best value for money tiles in Australia. Here's proof. Magnificent polished Verona floor tiles. National Tiles' best value price of $39 is over 20% below the market. That's right, 20% below the market every day of the year. Yes, I personally guarantee you National Tiles has the best value for money tiles in Australia every day of the year.
The 7-seat Kia Sorrento, Kia's most awarded large SUV ever. Unlike any other SUV in Australia, the unrivaled Kia Sorrento is available in diesel, petrol, hybrid and plug-in hybrid technologies. The Kia Sorrento, awarded and unmatched like no other 7-seat SUV. To find out more, visit kia.com.au or visit your nearest Kia dealer.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Hey guys, just remember, let them come to you.
Okay, in 3, 2... I think this one might like me.
If this is what swimming with wild sea lions sounds like, imagine how it feels. Eyre Peninsula, perfect for those who want a little more. South Australia. Rewards wonder.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 24 with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
An unconscious man was found on the side of Hambridge Road at Davern Park last night. Senior Constable Matt Brown says he'd suffered head and facial injuries.
The victim, a 34-year-old Elizabeth Eastman, was taken to the Royal Adelaide Hospital in a serious but stable condition, and police believe he was assaulted at a nearby property before being moved to the location where he was found.
Detectives are investigating. And a motorbike rider's been caught at extreme speed at Hallett Cove last night. He was clocked doing 170 k's in an 80 zone on Lonsdale Highway. The 40-year-old man from Christie Downs has lost his licence for 12 months and his bike's been impounded for 28 days. He'll appear in court at a later date. The Federal Treasurer says he wants to take his superannuation changes to the Australian people. Tax on super accounts containing more than $3 million will be doubled to 30%. The new rate will kick in from 2025 after the next federal election. Jim Chalmers has told Today voters will have a chance to decide whether they back the change.
One of the reasons that we made this change come into effect after the next election is because we wanted to take it to the people, and that's what we're doing. We said before the election we wouldn't make major changes to superannuation. This is a modest change. It leaves all the fundamentals of superannuation in place.
Documents containing confidential bank customer information have been found in a skip bin in Perth. The ANZ documents included bank statements, personal details, emails, transaction histories and account numbers. They were thrown out after the local branch closed. ANZ's apologised and launched an internal investigation. 55 medicines containing a common cough suppressant are being pulled from the shelves. Folklore has been linked to an increased risk of anaphylactic reactions during general anaesthetics. It's used in dozens of products, including Benadryl and Codral. A man accused of killing a Queensland woman's being extradited from India to face charges. Rawinder Singh allegedly fled Australia the day after Toyah Cordingley's body was found near Cairns in 2018. Queensland police officers who arrived in Delhi last week boarded the flight alongside him. Australia's tourism body's launching a campaign to lure back tourists from China. The Don't Go Small, Go Australia campaign will capitalise on Chinese travellers' wishes to see their family and friends in the country. General admission tickets for the Live Golf event here in Adelaide have sold out. 42,000 tickets have been sold, with 40% of those being snapped up by interstate or overseas travellers. Tourism Minister Zoe Bettison says there's still a chance for people to buy corporate hospitality tickets from tomorrow.
We know there's a lot of interest in this area, and the corporate hospitality is coming back stronger and stronger post-COVID.
A new cancer research centre to be overseen by SAMRI and the University of Adelaide will officially launch today. Professor Tim Hughes says it'll house cutting-edge technology and has the potential for great advances in the field.
These 3 mass spectrometers that we're purchasing actually allow us to look beyond genomics and look at the way that the mutated genes present in different cancers actually affect the cells in much more refined ways, looking at the effect on the proteins, on the way the proteins interact with lipids, on the effects of these on the metabolism of the cells.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Port Adelaide assistant coach Hamish Hartlett says he and the rest of the coaching staff aren't too concerned despite going down to West Coast in last week's practice match. Hartlett telling Rowie and Timmy G the pre-season is the time to experiment.
No, I don't think we're nervous at all, Rowie. I think with these pre-season games, they're great opportunities to explore certain things, and we made a couple of tactical changes throughout that West Coast game, which ultimately probably cost us a couple of goals.
The Power will play their final practice match of the pre-season tomorrow night against Fremantle and are likely to bring back Charlie Dixon, Zach Butters and Darcy Byrne-Jones, who all missed last week. Let's go to cricket, and the third test between Australia and India will get underway in Indore later this afternoon, our time. The Aussies are a very big chance to again go with 3 spinners as they look to fight their way back into the series. Meantime, the Redbacks will train in Brisbane today ahead of tomorrow's must-win Shield clash against Queensland. Rafael Nadal has regretfully withdrawn from the entry list for Indian Wells and the Miami Open. The 22-time major champion says he's sad to be missing the tennis tournament due to a leg injury. Phil Foden has given Manchester City a 1-0 lead over Bristol City heading into the second half of their FA Cup fifth-round clash. City 1-0 in front with about 20 minutes to play, while earlier Brighton has beaten Stoke 1-0. And in some basketball to finish, the New York Knicks' brilliant run of forms continued after beating title contenders the Boston Celtics 109-94. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Bathroom Works quick and affordable bathroom makeovers. Get a quote at bathroomwerx.com.
At Smithfield, got a burst water main North Road near Anderson Walk with delays outbound. St George's, breakdown on Portrush Road near Bevington Road, busy at the moment. South Road at Thurberson, also West Terrace at Great Street, pretty slow. And we've got works at Bedford Park on the Southern Expressway. A few lanes closed as you're heading into the city, always gets pretty slow on the drive-in. Cameras today, Barnes Road, Glynn and Grand Boulevard at Seaford. Banks do banking, SmartPay does FPOS. It's how thousands of businesses save thousands on merchant fees. Visit smartpay.com.au. T's and C's and minimum turnover apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Tintillating, subversive, Rouge is back with death-defying acrobatics, grandiose cabaret and twisted burlesque. Book via The Fringe.
Cloudy and 24 today, cloudy again tomorrow 24, mostly sunny Friday 26 and 28 for Saturday. At the moment 16. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
7 minutes after 8, breaking 8 coming up in just a moment. Also, the host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch. We got some really good questions earlier about the implementation of the superannuation changes, and there's no better financial analyst than Koch here to take us through it. So if you've got a question about what's transpired, we'll obviously be talking to him about the politics of it. But if you want to talk about a little bit about the specifics, fire us a question on the Duttons text line. Of course, thanks to Duttons 3 dealerships and 10 franchises in the Adelaide Hills and Murray Bridge. Dutton's easy to do business with, or on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream.
There's two texts here which show the diverging views that we are getting over the superannuation stuff. One from Ronan in Brahma Lodge. He says, we got 1.2 million children living in poverty before the Ukraine war, many over 65s, especially women living in poverty. And the argument of people with over $3 million in super is we need tax concessions. What sort of country has Australia become? This is not the Australia I grew up in. Thank you, Ronan. And then Wayne says, g'day fellas, the issue here is Albanese, quote, my word is my bond. There will be no changes to superannuation and electricity prices will go down. How good is your word, Albo? Thank you, Wayne.
It is a Wednesday morning, which means it's time for some hot goss.
Give us the tea, Adelaide.
If you're building or renovating, your first choice should be visiting the Smeg showroom at Debney Distributors. Taste the difference with Smeg. It's a blender today that we have on offer for you.
Nice.
If you've heard a rumour, something about town, we've had some good ones over the course of the journey. Let us know, 8223 You remain entirely anonymous. In fact, you'll probably be named after whatever that Sam and Lucy want to eat later today. That typically is
could be
how it
vegetable.
works. You might be called hot cross bun.
Could
today.
be a type
Who
of
knows?
sandwich. Maybe we should do types of sandwich today. Maybe the first caller can be called Reuben, which is one of the great sandwiches.
Absolutely. 8223 is the number. If you've got a rumour, let us know it and put yourself in the running to win that excellent Smeg blender.
Well, for all the criticisms of the Live Golf Tournament from some members of Labor's left and some more human rights focused people saying that it's unconscionable that any taxpayers' money should be spent dealing with a Saudi-backed golf entity, the people of South Australia have well and truly voted with their feet, unfussed by any of the criticisms. And as we've said on the show, it does seem a bit funny that when we trade with Saudi Arabia and we have strategic relationships with them, why should the job fall to golf to get involved in stuff like that? That's all by the by, because the one figure here that is of interest is 42,000 fans. 42,000 fans have bought tickets to the Live Golf Tournament in Adelaide. Now, interestingly, 40% of them are from interstate and overseas, so that's close to 20,000 people who are going to be arriving in Adelaide in April, who are going to need somewhere to stay. They're going to want to go out to new restaurants. They want to go to the pub. They're going to buy souvenirs and clothes and do all the things that you do when you're a tourist. So in terms of the money that's being injected into the economy, it's looking like whatever taxpayer involvement has been necessary to underpin this is going to pay for its own way in terms of the economic activity that it's going to generate. But for people who are going, oh, geez, because it hasn't really been advertised that much, pretty much purely through word of mouth, it's completely sold out and you can't get tickets anymore. Well, my understanding is that you will still be able to get tickets, and that apparently the government is going to talk to the organisers because demand is so great that they're going to see if they can have another allocation of general admission tickets so that the golf mad punters of South Australia can get in. So
who's got the current allocation?
Well, it's exhausted. According to the Tiser this morning, they're saying...
where are these other tickets coming from? Are these from sort of corporate hangers-on and stuff?
Well, no, there's separate corporate tickets that haven't gone on sale yet. They're going to go on sale on Wednesday for people who've already paid a deposit. But my understanding is that in terms of general admission tickets, for the average fan who just wants to get along for the day or for a couple of days, there's going to be a second round that is going to be made available, details of which will hopefully emerge over the next week or so, but that the government's going to talk to the organisers and say, listen, do you reckon we can get more in? Because people are just jumping at the chance to go.
12 minutes after 8, this morning on Sunrise, really lovely interview with that took place a short time ago. Of course, David Koch is coming up very, very shortly with Chloe Latanzi, the daughter of Olivia Newton-John.
I got up there because I listened to my mom within me. She said, "You're so strong, my darling. You can do this." And it's a privilege to stand up and shout to the mountaintops how proud you are of your mother and how much you love her. And it was just the love lifted me up there, and then Mom, I felt, came into my body and carried me through.
We've brought some orange flowers here today.
I noticed that.
Her favourite, her favourite colour.
Yeah.
Why was she an orange girl, Chloe?
Wow, I think it's such a vibrant, happy color. It's energizing. I don't know, why do you think she was an orange girl?
It's a happy color, an energizing color, and that's it. Boom, orange.
Yeah.
Just watching you, your body language, you can tell you have a really lovely bond.
He's my Amazon dad.
She's the Amazon daughter. Yeah.
Because you've been through a lot together. Yeah.
The other voice you heard there was John Easterling, who was the stepfather as well. So that was the other voice you heard in that. What was a really, really nice interview. I'm just looking at some traffic advice that's come
Bar doing the interview there
from the department. The Portrush Road, Bevington Road, Glenunga. Portrush Road is reduced to one lane for northbound traffic at Bevington Road due to a truck breakdown. Please avoid the area if possible. Expect delays. Get the latest traffic info live at trafficsa.gov.au.
Speaking of transport, at about 7:10 last night on the excellent John Blake program, if you don't listen to it, you should. You're missing out. A very special caller rang in. Have a listen.
Our mate Tom Goodson-Tonis.
Listening, and you can tell us.
Yes, Tom, give us a call. Wouldn't it be great if Tom called in? Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, is that Bucky Andy? Tom Goodson-Tonis.
Hi, Tom.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about these?
Yeah, what? Sorry.
Can you tell me about these motorised scooters? Get out of town! It's Tom!
Yeah. Oh, this is a first. No, I have to handle this very carefully.
Yeah,
because
but don't be shy.
No, this is diplomatic and,
Yes.
Don't be smart, Angie.
I won't. I just want to ask questions.
Is this the Minister for Infrastructure and Transport?
It is. I've just heard you two being completely confused about who the Transport Minister is. So I thought I'd let you know it's me.
You heard the word Stefan Canol and you whacked your thumb with a hammer.
Accidentally had it on 5AA.
Accidentally.
Well, tell us, Tom, can you go to Aldi and buy an electric scooter and then ride it on the road and the footpath?
Yes.
No, not yet. You can rent one. You can hire one. Yes. When you hire one, you're covered by insurance.
Yeah.
You can ride it in certain council areas on the road and footpath. On the footpath, we're running trials across Metropolitan Adelaide.
Yep.
We've got a plan to try and legalise it. What we're trying to sort out is insurance, third-party premiums. These things can cause accidents, and you can hurt yourself, and you can also hurt someone else.
You can run into somebody and not be insured. Yeah, okay.
That's right. We're just trying to sort that out, whether it's whether we get you to pay a registration fee or we cover you under some sort of public liability cost.
That's like a crossover episode of your favourite TV shows. Remember that was the sort of a thing that happened in the 90s? You'd be like, oh, hang on, they're all together? Wow.
What about Cooch sounds nothing like the comical Cooch that Blakey does. But if you actually think about, and, you know, I cop it on Mondays, it seems, at the moment from Blakey with his sketches. You've copped it, Will, with your rounded vowels, and Graham comes on with his sort of, you know, very Shakespearean tones. Everyone gets a turn with Blakey. But I think if you did the running table of who's been pilloried the most by John Blake over the last 3 years, it'd be Tom Koutsantonis by the length of the straight. Would it not?
I would have thought so.
I mean, he was 7:55 this morning.
And
Good morning, Pemia Pete.
He was listening in.
Yeah, but it's good of him. Whatever you think about Tom Koutsantonis, that bloke does have the height of a rhino.
He's a good sport.
He is. So good on him for ringing in.
That's very funny. Thank you to the listeners that alerted us to that. Big thanks to a listener, John Bolton, as well, who's texting. John from Glengarry, who says he's a proud member of the Royal Australian Navy from 1965 to 1974. What ship did you serve on, John? I love reading about Australian Navy ships. So
you are big on that, aren't you?
I love this stuff, which is why I love John's email. He says nearly 100% correct, Will, about the birth of the Royal Australian Navy, but to be a little pedantic, he makes the point, and I actually think this is a reasonable point. The Commonwealth Naval Forces were born on the 1st of March 1901, whereas the Royal Australian Navy was born on the 10th of July 1911. It's the subject of an essay on the Navy website by Dr. David Stevens. It says, when was it born? He concludes it was March 1, 1901. But I take John's point that the presence of a Navy isn't necessarily the same thing as the Royal Australian Navy. So, excellent. This is the kind of conversation. I could do 3 hours on this conversation, but I won't. I'll spare it. John and I'll privately email each other.
Take that one offline, as they say,
that's
Will.
Right.
Don't you hate that term? Let's take this offline.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Because that means you're talking about something really boring that you then have to create a separate meeting to talk about.
I don't think it's boring.
At a later stage. No, I didn't mean that was boring. Well, actually, hey, the stink continues on the Duttons text line. These guys, Albo and co, do not have a mandate to do anything but keep the lights on. They came second, only got into power with preference voting from the Greens. And then Michael in Parkside conversely says, don't fall for the conspiracy line that the government is coming for the super of mum and dad Australians. The only people who need to be concerned are the 80,000 mega rich who use superannuation as a means of manipulating the tax system to benefit themselves at the expense of mum and dad Australians. Now, I take issue, Michael, with the word manipulating. They're not manipulating the tax system. They're using the tax system as it is currently constituted. They're not breaking the law. The law lets them do it at the moment. So to say they're manipulating it is wrong. But that's not to say to the guts of your point, Michael, which is, well, you can't cry poor if you're on 3 mil. That's where the argument should be. But let's not go down the full-blown class war path of saying these people are basically thieves, which they're not. They're just doing what the law lets them do.
Keep the text coming in on the Duttons text line, 048008 1395. You can call us on 8223 0000. You can get calling on that line too and stay anonymous to win yourself a Smeg blender this morning, a magnificent looking device by Smeg. All their devices look great. All you do is tell us a bit of a rumour. If you've got a rumour about something going on around Adelaide, the good oil, the tea, as the kids are saying, let us know before 9 o'clock and you can put yourself in the running to win that Smeg blender.
Quick question. Have any of our listeners seen a movie called Cocaine Bear?
Is it out here?
It's out. I actually checked the session times. It's being shown at about 5 different cinemas around town. As far as the stupid scale of movies, like you think probably Snakes on a Plane might be the current sort of title holder, but this might be the dumbest film ever made, but dumb in a really awesome way. Have a bit of a listen.
Here's what you need to know before you see Cocaine Bear. Nothing. You don't need to read a comic book from 1978. The bear wasn't introduced at the end of the Eternals. If you've ever heard the words cocaine or bear before, you're completely up to speed. Don't come to this movie for a pop quiz, okay? As Nicole Kidman said, we come to Cocaine Bear for magic. And you're not going to see any articles after, like Cocaine Bear ending explained. You're just going to see ones that say, remember the ending of Cocaine Bear? We do too. It ruled. This movie will be conservatively 1 billion times better than Citizen Kane. Conservatively.
So the premise for the film is that these Latin American drug dealers have had some sort of plane crash and all of this cocaine has fallen from the sky. They claim it's based on true events. Anyway, a grizzly bear finds all of the cocaine and eats it, and then goes on this sort of Wolf of Wall Street style drug-fueled binge of badness where it ends up just going on this completely demented
It is based on
spree.
it's based on a real story, which was obviously the sequence of events was far less dramatic, but they found what was a failed drug drop-off and had been all consumed by this bear that was lying there dead. So this bear, obviously, as the movie goes on an adventure, but there is a stuffed bear that commemorates this drug bust that consumed all the cocaine. So
if anyone's
it's
seen
tenuously linked to something that actually did happen.
It looks unreal. It looks so stupid it's good. 822300 will put you on air and you can give it a quick review. It's also Ray Liotta's last movie.
Is that right?
He plays one of the drug dealers in it. He died not long after they finished production.
Made $23.1 million in its opening weekend.
Is that good?
It's for a movie of this size, it's very good these days.
It's got some killer lines in it. Looking at the trailer, it looks like it's going to become an absolute cult classic.
I don't know whether it's good or not, but I do find refreshing the idea you can make a movie these days that isn't trying to make some grander statement about the world. You know, sometimes it's just something fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's going to be better than Sharknado. Because Sharknado, the concept's great, and you start watching the movie 2 minutes in, you go, this is just garbage.
Yeah, it's too stupid.
Too stupid.
22 after 8, let's check traffic.
Thanks, Will. At Blackwood, smash on Shepherd's Hill Road near Coromandel Parade. Smithfield, burst water main there. Main North Road near Addison Walk, delays outbound. St George's, breakdown on Port Rush Road near Bevington Road, and we're busy right now South Road at Featherston. Also the North-South motorway pretty slow at Grand Junction Road. Cameras, Barnes Road, Glynn, and the Esplanade at Aldinga Beach. Want free delivery? Shop amazon.com.au. That's right. Eligible orders over $39 receive free delivery at amazon.com.au. Easy as. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Rowie and Timmy G on the 5AA Sports Show.
Joining us, Michael Kasparich. Casper, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Should Warner retire or should he tell his story walking?
Oh, look, he's played for a long time. If he's enjoying it, then, keep going. And if you're successful, but can't reckon he's sort of been hugely successful.
Rowie and Timmy G.
So what would you do?
What is he, 35? Yeah, I'd probably have a gut ball by now.
4 p.m. weekdays on 5AA.
For over 55 years, Fairmont Homes have been one of SA's most trusted home builders. And when it comes to quality at unbeatable value, it's always Fairmont. And right now, when you build with Fairmont, you'll receive free luxury kitchen and bathroom upgrades, free 2.7 metre high ceilings, plus free air. An offer this good has to be for a limited time only, so get in quick. For more details, visit fairmonthomes.com.au. T's and C's apply.
Introducing Nissan Future Value Business Plus, a new fleet finance solution for small to medium businesses offering competitive weekly repayments, including the cost of scheduled servicing for the loan term. Available now on the all-new Nissan X-Trail ST. Plan confidently for the road ahead with Nissan Future Value Business Plus. Visit nissan.com.au/business plus or contact your local Nissan dealer. Approved ABN registered small to medium fleet applicants of Nissan Financial Services. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
Specsavers believe everyone deserves the latest high-tech hearing aids at everyday low prices. Now more than ever, no one needs to pay more than they should for hearing aids.
You'll find qualified and accredited audiology professionals in almost 300 stores across the country.
Start your hearing journey with Specsavers and know what the costs are with their upfront prices. You won't be charged extra for your preferred fitting, style or colour.
Specsavers' mission is to provide hearing care that's fair for all, and that's why this Hearing Awareness Week, they're making some noise.
Because everyday low prices on latest high-tech hearing aids doesn't mean you compromise on quality or expert care.
To book a hearing appointment or to find out more, visit specsavers.com.au/hearing. T's and C's apply.
Right now, we need a saviour, a mortgage saviour. Last week, one 5AA listener rang Vince at Mortgage Saviour. They reworked their mortgage payments and saved $9,000 just in the first year. It's their mission to get you mortgage free as soon as possible. With more interest rate hikes on the horizon, it's important to talk to Vince at Mortgage Saviour on 1300 99 886. Find out what a mortgage saviour can do for you. Go to mortgagesaviour.com.au. T's and C's apply.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
Coming up to 26 minutes after 8, the Smeg Blender is in the studio with us this morning.
Give us the tea, Adelaide.
If you're building or renovating, your first choice should be visiting the Smeg showroom at Deputy Distributors. It works. Taste the difference with Smeg. If you want to win this magnificent blender, all you need to do is hit us with a rumour. Big or small.
There we go. Well,
it doesn't.
The margaritas are done.
Your rumour doesn't need to be, you don't need to answer the Roswell conspiracy, or you don't need to tell us where the new Women's and Children's Hospital is going to be. There are plenty of good ones last week we got too that were just little local things that were going on.
Could be footy related.
It could be.
Season's almost here.
Could be sort of down your street stuff. We love to hear them, and you can remain totally anonymous. All you need to do is call on 8223 0000, like Mark has, who's called in. Not with a rumour though. Morning to you, Mark.
Hey, what's going on, Will?
Hey, Mark, I understand, thanks for calling, mate. I understand you've seen Cocaine Bear. What do you think?
Oh, look, it's exactly what it says it is. It's a bear on cocaine. It's hilarious.
Is it gory? Is it scary? Or is it just completely stupid?
No, it's gory. So, like, I took my 16-year-old kid, which is nothing, but it's pretty gory. But it's hilarious. Like, it's pretty funny.
How many stars would you give it out of 5?
Oh, 5. Look, here's a rumour for you. It's going to win an Academy Award.
Which one?
There's a rumour. There's a hot tip. Get on it.
Maybe the bear will get Best Actor.
Ice Cube's son is good in it. It's exactly what it says. It's just a cocaine on
what
bear.
What it says on the tin.
North. So I've seen plenty of cocaine bears on cocaine in the north.
Good on you, Mark.
Good on you, mate.
Mark. There's a ringing endorsement. Cocaine Bear. I'm just not 100% sure it'll get the Academy nod, but who knows? They are trying to broaden out their horizons at the Academy, not be all art house. So maybe there'll be some sort of achievement there. It's 8:28. 5AA News is coming up. David Koch is not too far away.
I like to call it a passion. I can be sitting relaxing. I'm spending this holiday locked in. Back then, wasn't worried about me though. In the gym, trying to work on my free throw. What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in.
The new Kia Seltos. That's what's poppin'. And yeah, it's got options. The new Kia Seltos. The word is out.
Brand new whip, just hopped in.
Kia. Movement that inspires.
Let's cross live now to Sarah for news on how Hearing Australia is making it easy for Australians to receive expert hearing care.
That's right, Andrew. You join me on the Hearing the Nation tour, which is visiting 1,000 locations during March, delivering free hearing checks for adults. Search Hearing the Nation or call 134 432 to book your check today.
Hearing Australia.
Conditions apply under the Australian Government Hearing Services Program.
When seafood's on the menu, go straight to the South Australian family that served the freshest, finest seafood for 3 generations. That is, of course, Samtas Seafoods. They're factory direct and open 7 days. I mean, where else can you get 4 kilos of premium seafood for just $60? Snap frozen kilo packs of your favourites at Samtas like Tassie Atlantic salmon or Port Lincoln kingfish portions, flathead fillets, snapper and barramundi fillets, crumb garfish and prawns, salt and pepper squid and more. You can mix and match kilo packs, 4 packs for just $60. Plus an incredible range of premium fresh South Australian seafood factory direct with freshly harvested West Coast oysters, open daily, and crayfish and blue crabs freshly cooked on the premises. This week, freshly cooked river yabbies, just $23.99 a kilo. Fresh fillets of King George whiting, $59.99, and fresh garfish fillets at $44.99 per kilo. That's just perfect. Plus a great range of barbecue-ready marinated shazliks. Choose from Australian prawn meat, Atlantic salmon, scallops, Moreton Bay bugtail meat. Shazliks that are right across the spectrum. Samtas Seafoods, open 7 days, factory direct, Richmond Road at Richmond.
Think of the deadliest animal in the world. It doesn't have razor-sharp claws. It doesn't spit venom. It doesn't swim under unsuspecting surfers accompanied by ominous theme music. The only sound it makes is this. With floodwaters still stagnant and unusual weather, South Australians are experiencing a mozzie and fly invasion. Fight back with EcoMist, a natural pest control dispenser that is also safe around your family. Wipe out flies and mozzies naturally with EcoMist. Order today at ecomist.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 24 with the 8:30 news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Check out Gliderroll Garage Doors' new Timber Look Native Series sectional doors. Gliderroll.com.au.
Police are investigating a serious assault at Davern Park last night. A man was found unconscious next to Hambridge Road with head and facial injuries. Senior Constable Matt Brown says the 34-year-old was taken to hospital in a serious but stable condition.
Police believe he was assaulted at a nearby property before being moved to the location where he was found. Northern District detectives and forensic investigators attended the scene. They're asking anyone who may have witnessed suspicious activity in the area or may have been driving through Hambridge Road late last night, may have captured the incident on dashcam footage to call Crime Stoppers.
A motorbike rider's lost his licence after being clocked 90 k's over the limit at Hallett Cove last night. The 40-year-old man from Christie Downs was doing 170 in an 80 zone on Lonsdale Highway. He's also been reported for extreme speed and his motorbike's been impounded for 28 days. The Prime Minister's ruling out any changes to capital gains tax on the family home. Treasury data shows excluding people's main residence from the policy costs the budget $48 billion a year. The federal government will tax super accounts containing more than $3 million at a higher rate to boost the budget bottom line. But Anthony Albanese's told the national broadcaster he won't make similar changes to family homes.
We are not going to impact the family home. Full stop, exclamation mark. I have never heard in all of the meetings that I've been to, and I've been to a few of the Labor Party, I have never heard anyone raise that as a proposition.
The personal information of customers of one of the nation's biggest banks has been found in a rubbish bin in Perth. Erin Harwood has details.
The ANZ documents were found in a skip bin in Armidale in the city's southeast. They included personal details, emails, bank statements and account numbers. A passerby spotted the confidential papers. Some were even floating down the street. The documents were thrown out in a clean-up after the local ANZ branch closed its doors. Legal professionals say the bank could now be facing a fine upwards of $50 million.
The man accused of killing Toyah Cordingley will soon be back on Australian soil following his extradition. Rawinder Singh has boarded a flight from New Delhi to Melbourne with Queensland Police. He fled to India the day after Toyah was found dead on a beach north of Cairns in 2018. Singh has denied having anything to do with her death. Government agencies in the US have been given 30 days to remove the Chinese-owned TikTok app from federal devices. The Canadian government's also issued a similar ban, citing concerns about data protection. China's foreign ministry says it's an overreaction, but Professor Karen North, a social media expert from the Uni of Southern California, says there are serious security risks.
TikTok is a giant data collection machine. And so the question is, should the data collection machine be on the phones of people who have secure and potentially, important confidential information on their phones?
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. The AFL is making 13 amendments to its tribunal guidelines ahead of the 2023 season. There's a crackdown on players pushing opponents into umpires and an adjustment to how forceful front-on contact is assessed. Meantime, Daisy Pearce has joined Geelong as a development coach, signing a 4-year deal. The former Melbourne captain joins the reigning AFL premiers after hanging up the boots in January. To cricket, and all-rounder Cam Green is likely to make his return to Australia's lineup for today's third test against India in Indore. The 23-year-old hasn't played since Boxing Day after breaking his finger. Stand-in captain Steve Smith says he gives flexibility in the side, with the Aussies likely to again go with 3 spinners.
Just his all-round ability just helps us in terms of the way we want to go about things with our 11 that we pick as well, you know, with his skill set. So we saw him play exceptionally well in Gaul. He did things a little bit differently to how he's probably done things in the past.
Meantime, New Zealand has created history, becoming only the second side ever to win a test match by 1 run. The result was even more remarkable given they were asked to follow on against England. Bowler Tim Southey saying it's a result they'll remember for a long time.
It's hard to go past having only been the 4th team to win a test match, being asked to follow on. We've had a number of close wins, but yeah, I think just the sheer nature of being asked to follow on, and the guys just been taking their stride and just giving it a shot for the last 3 days.
That 2-match series finishing at 1-1. And it's full-time in FA Cup action this morning, with Manchester City breezing past Bristol 3-0 to move into the quarter-finals. In other results, Fulham took care of Leeds 2-0, Blackburn beat Leicester 2-1, while Brighton got past Stoke 1-0. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now to the traffic.
Bathroom Works quick and affordable bathroom makeovers. Get a quote at bathroomwerx.com.
At Blackwood, got a smash on Shepherd's Hill Road near Coromandel Parade. Smithfield, burst water main North Road near Anderson Walk. Got delays outbound at the moment. St George's, breakdown on Port Rice Road near Bevington Road, and quite busy at the moment, the north-south motorway near the Grand Junction Road area. Works to look out for on the drive that include activity at Woodville Park to Port Road near Garth Streets, with the camera Grant Scully Road at Clarendon. Burbank Homes has stunning new display homes for sale, a great investment opportunity with generous leaseback and located in the most sought-after areas. Call 8201 0000. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Tintillating, subversive, Rouge is back with death-defying acrobatics, grandiose cabaret and twisted burlesque. Book via The Fringe.
Partly cloudy and 24 today, cloudy tomorrow 24, mostly sunny for Friday 26 and 28 for Saturday. At the moment 17. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
23 to 9. Taking your rumours and putting you in the running to win the excellent Smeg blender. If you're building or renovating your first choice, you'll be visiting the Smeg showroom at Debney Distributors. Taste the difference with Smeg. Toasty is on the line. Good morning, Toasty.
Yeah, good morning, guys. How you going?
Good, thanks, Toasty.
Yeah, I've heard there's a development application for a surf park to be built down sort of the western suburbs, like 1,000 sort of square metre surf park.
Like one of those big sort of Magic Mountain style ones, or bigger than that, presumably not the same design.
This is like one that's in Melbourne, like proper wave surfing.
Really?
Waves. You know,
That sounds good.
This will be a major attraction for the western suburbs in Adelaide.
And you said 1,000 square metres, didn't you, Toasty?
Something along those lines. It's somewhere opposite the airport, I believe, but I think the development application's in at the moment.
Interesting. I was going to say, and that's a good rumour. Toasty well and truly in the running to win the Smeg blender. There's not a whole lot of area that out that way that it could be at. It's tough to find vacant space.
Oh, near Marineland there's a bit. There's a bit of space around there.
Marineland?
Yeah, where they've got that big climbing thing near the golf course, near Westwood Ho.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. It has to be
in that area.
In that area. There's not, when you say western suburbs,
near that
there's not huge parcels of land that are vacant right now.
There's the caravan park,
but West Beach there is.
I like that Luce and Sam have gone with the sandwich theme. Good text from Amy on that very topic before, saying, I named my son Reuben. I love the sandwich so much. How's that for dedication?
Not sure where the name Silentium came from, but it's the name of a defence company here in South Australia that is at the moment over in Victoria at the Australian International Air Show at Avalon. The show's been off for 3 years. It's back. And what's being showcased is some of the cutting-edge technology that's being developed here in South Australia. Silentium focused in on radar technology, and it's of particular interest at the moment, a claim that maybe Joe Biden will be listening to, that they can spot Chinese spy balloons. Simon Palumbo is the Chief Experience Officer at Silentium. Simon, good morning to you.
Good morning, David. Good morning, Will. How are you guys going?
We're well, Simon. Fascinated by the technology that you're putting on show at the Avalon Air Show. I want to get to some of the technical elements of it, but first the headliner is about the Chinese spy balloons. So you're saying we won't have a problem here in South Australia because you guys are based here?
Well, I'll start by explaining what we actually do, and I think it's probably a new sort of novel technique, and a lot of people probably don't know what we do. So I guess we develop passive radar, and I'd start by explaining traditional radar sends out that blast of radio energy and hits objects and then receives those echoes and can form a radar picture. What we do is we use existing energy in the environment, such as television or radio, even like, the likes of yourself, as our transmission source. So we're using that. We get a reference, we get echoes from objects in our field of view, and we can form the same radar picture without needing to transmit. So we're actually a passive radar, and we're actually covert. So you can sort of see the applications where you go into defence. But I guess getting to the balloon, what traditional sort of commercial airliners use at the moment is they do have active or traditional radars at big airports, but then they use a secondary thing called ADS-B, and this is like a transponder from the aircraft, which allows the people on the ground to then know where the aircraft is. But for things that don't have that, such as balloons, we can still detect those sort of things. So we can detect things that are either not transmitting, like this balloon or a aircraft that doesn't have these transponders, and we can then sort of go back to that air traffic management, or we even take this into space as well. We do space traffic management and tracking things in space as well.
I'm not going to pretend to be a radar expert, but I'm aware that one of the drawbacks of traditional radar is that when you use it and turn it on, you can, in effect, give away your position. And a lot of terrestrial detection capabilities are based on this idea that you can locate planes and things because they've put their radar on. Are you saying your technology overcomes that issue, whereby you're giving yourself away?
You're exactly right. It's a technology that just allows us to see without being seen. So we can still form that radar picture, but we don't need to transmit and give away our location.
Do you reckon we should be talking about this on the radio, or should you be keeping this covert?
No, this is a technology that we've taken into the commercial space as well. So
Okay.
we're helping make space safe, as well as air traffic control applications. So it's really applicable across a lot of a broad area.
Sorry, I'm being a bit quiet, Simon. I don't really understand any of this. But it sounds impressive.
Where in Adelaide are you based?
So we've got two sites just north of the city, so around Jepps Cross and Wingfield, and we're actually we've been building this technology since 2017, when it started with myself and co-founder James Palmer. And then we've actually grown it to 60 strong people now, so hence the two sites, because we're growing quite rapidly, and I think we've got about 15 roles out at the moment. So if you're interested in working in passive radar, please reach out. But yeah, like we're sort of, I guess, developing a technology with Australian skills, Australian jobs, and sort of Australian products to sort of take to the world. And that's sort of why we're here at Avalon as well.
Well, Will might be the type of bloke you're after. I'm clearly not. No, got nothing to offer, Simon. But Will knows quite a lot about passive radar.
Yeah, right.
Well, we do monthly barbecues, so if you're a good cook...
No, that's now you've got David's attention. Hey, Simon, it's fascinating technology, and it's just nice to... We love hearing the stories about these sorts of businesses that are doing cutting-edge technology stuff on our doorstep here in Adelaide. Appreciate your time this morning.
No, thank you very much for having me.
Simon Palumbo, the Chief Experience Officer at Silentium. The Silentium Defence is the name of the company.
Quite overwhelming, isn't it, all that stuff?
Just amazing. You just don't think, when you drive through those, sort of industrial areas in parts of Adelaide, you wonder what they're doing in there. You never think covert radar operation.
Yeah, monitoring Chinese balloons.
David, they could be anyone's balloons.
Well, only one of them is confirmed as a
Exactly.
Chinese one. The others could, as we said, just be piñatas that drifted away, or from gender reveal parties or something.
15 minutes to 9. We're going to do a check traffic and come back with the host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch, in just a moment.
Blakewood got a smash on Shepherd's Hill Road near Coromandel Parade. Smithfield burst Watermain, Main North Road near Anderson Walk, delays outbound. St George's and Glen Osmond, 2 breakdowns on Potrice Road, one near Bevington Road and the other near Glen Osmond Road. Busy at the moment, South Road at Theberton, and we've got work slowing things up at Modbury Reservoir Road near Rapaley Drive. Need to see an Australian registered doctor now? Just download the Instant Consult app today and get fast, affordable medical advice in minutes with Instant Consult. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Right now, we need a saviour, a mortgage saviour. Last week, one 5AA listener rang Vince at Mortgage Saviour. They reworked their mortgage payments and saved $9,000 just in the first year. It's their mission to get you mortgage free as soon as possible. With more interest rate hikes on the horizon, it's important to talk to Vince at Mortgage Saviour on 1300 99 8886. Find out what a mortgage saviour can do for you. Go to mortgagesaviour.com.au. T's and C's apply.
Fresh marinated chicken roasting pieces are now just $5.49 per kilo. And so easy, you could totally cook them with your eyes closed. Aldi, good, different.
Magic Millions SA Race Day is fast approaching. Saturday, March 4 at Murray Bridge Racing Club. This South Australian 2-year-old classic is a season highlight with a $200,000 prize on the line.
And you can get trackside from just $22 a person. Don't forget to dress to impress, a bit like Will when he's reading the news, for your shot at fashions on the field with prizes in the best dressed, best suited and under 16s up for grabs.
There's still time to secure a seat on the bus if you plan to indulge a little. Buses will depart from Morphettville Racecourse, Arkabar Hotel, Mount Barker Park and Ride and Bridgeport Hotel.
So don't miss the Magic Millions SA Race Day, Saturday, March 4 from 11:30am at the Murray Bridge Racing Club. Turn up on the day or visit murraybridge.com for tickets and details. Know when to stop, don't go over the top, gamble responsibly.
Adelaide Direct Stationers is much more than just stationery. Did you know we have everything from PPE, washroom supplies, technology products, office furniture, cleaning supplies and workplace health and safety. And of course, all your office supplies. Proudly South Australian, Adelaide Direct Stationers offer free next day delivery for orders over $50 or same day 2-hour express delivery. Order at adelaidedirectstationers.com.au.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
And they could never tear us apart.
David Koch on 5AA Breakfast.
12 minutes to 9. Koshy might appear to be the financial help segment this morning. I tell you, we had so many texts from people wondering how this new super change, proposed super change, should we say, will work. It's a good morning to have him on. It's always a good morning to have you on. David Koch, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
So, Koshy, we've finally got some clarity around exactly what it is the federal government is proposing. We understand you had a fairly frosty exchange with the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, on the show this morning.
Yeah, I did, because, look, I actually agree with the changes because when people talk about tax concessions, understand that we as normal taxpayers pay for somebody else's tax concessions. And we don't need, I think, to pay for tax concessions for the super rich. There's one person that has $537 million in their super fund. Well, be blowed if I'm going to contribute to their tax concessions at all. And so what the government is doing is saying, if you've got 3 million or more, and it's 80,000 people, 3 million or more in your super, instead of that super fund on returns paying 15% tax, you'll now pay 30%. So,
and that's beyond the 3 million too. You pay 15% up to 3 million, then 30% thereafter.
Well, that's going to have to come in the details, I think. That will be an interesting point, whether it's the whole 3 million or just above it. But so I agree with all of that. I don't have a problem at all. Where I have the big but. Is this the thin end of the wedge that they put the cap at 3 million, they put that into force, and then a year later they go, well, we'll just reduce it to 2.5 or down to 2 and keep catching people. So I asked the Treasurer this morning, will you absolutely guarantee, LAW law, as the previous Labor Treasurer used, that you will not reduce that cap any further down? And sort of, I accused him of weasel words. He goes, not my intention, but I can't sort of determine the future. So then I did the checklist. So I said, this is the problem. We don't trust you politicians. So because the day before, he released all the tax concessions that the government gives or costs the government on our home being capital gains tax free, on negative gearing concessions. And I said, okay, can you absolutely guarantee you will never, ever drop the capital gains tax exemption on the family home? And he goes, well, not my intention. And I said, no, just use the word guarantee. Yes or no, will you do it? Well, it's not my intention because you don't know what future governments will do. I said, okay, I'll make it easy on you. While you are Treasurer or Prime Minister, if you get to that, you will never, well, it's not my intention. Okay, it's that's why we don't trust you.
Yeah, I reckon that feels more like
trust any politician.
That feels more like a Jim Chalmers problem than an Albanese one, I reckon, Kochie. I saw, probably because of your interview afterward, Anthony Albanese came out and said, full stop, exclamation mark, we will make no changes to tax on the family home in relation to capital gains tax. But it feels like Jim Chalmers is casting himself as some sort of economic reformer. And, he has grand designs on what he's going to do for the Australian economy, and he doesn't want to box himself into a corner.
No, exactly right. And so it's this uncertainty. Like if he can be a reforming treasurer like Paul Keating was and make generational change, terrific. But he's got to be upfront about it. I did ask also whether these new rules apply to Anthony Albanese. And he said, yes, it will, which is good because when Anthony Albanese leaves Parliament, he'll be on a lifetime pension of $423,000 a year for life. Now that is equivalent to tens of millions of dollars in super. So he will be one of those. And I said also the 438 former politicians, we can save $350 million a year to the bottom line by bringing them all in line with current super rules that you and I have to operate under.
I know you questioned the Treasurer, Kochie, with regard to the potential that they would lower that threshold.
Yep.
But did he give you any insight as to whether they see it as a static threshold in terms of going the other way? Because you can foresee, that's the short answer. You can foresee inevitably with inflation and, well, we're hoping there'll be some more wage growth, that the number of people caught up by that $3 million number is only going to increase year on year.
Yeah, just like bracket creep, it'll be super creep. Because remember, the value of your investments as it goes up will push the value above $3 million as well. Like if you've got your super invested in the share market or property and we go for a boom and it goes up 20 or 30%, boom, you will be up through the $3 million. So that's... you're all caught up in that. Now he's going, we've got to repair the budget. The budget is doing extremely well at the moment. In the December quarter, to give you an idea, in the December quarter, their income tax receipts were 16% higher than they budgeted. 16%. That's because our wage growth means they make more tax. So for every pay rise you get, you keep 60, 70%, they keep 30%.
Do you reckon, Kochie, you'd know, living as long as you have in Sydney, you've seen eastern suburb seats like Wentworth become a teal seat. Warringah was one of the first to become a teal seat. It's happened in the more middle-class, upper-class parts of Melbourne, Toorak, Brighton, where Josh Frydenberg got turfed out.
Yep.
As much as these people there are all uni-educated, cashed-up, small-L liberals who love Mother Earth, they probably love their superannuation a little bit more, don't they?
They do, and you'll notice they've all come out railing against this super because also they're financial backers, because they've tapped into the young rich in terms of financial backers, would be railing against this as well.
Yeah. It's changed the dimension of politics, hasn't it?
It certainly has. So, but politics is all about vested interests, and that's showing through no matter what party is involved.
Yeah, totally. David Koch, the host of Sunrise on Channel 7, the best in the business particularly for topics like this. Always great to have you on, Koshy. Thanks, mate.
Good on you guys. Talk soon.
5 minutes to 9. It's time to go behind closed doors. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight, distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast on 13 13 64.
And when we get behind closed...
5AA Weekend Breakfast with Mike Keelan and Angie McBride.
Yes, here we are again. Michael Keelan, how are you?
Yeah, very well, Angie. Another beautiful day on the way.
Yes, and joining us in the studio from the newsroom, Graham Goodings. Morning, Graham.
Angie, Michael.
How are you, Graham?
I'm well. Did you get lots of gardening done before the rain, Graham?
No, of course I didn't. I hate gardening.
Really?
You people in your leaf blowers.
What's happening, Graham?
Well, the Mardi Gras is on in Sydney again.
Yes, and Kylie Minogue will be performing.
Yes, I believe.
Kylie's always been a gay icon, hasn't she?
Yeah, that's right. And so too was Olivia Newton-John, and her memorial is on tomorrow, which will be televised. It'll be interesting to see how many people watch.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, will be interesting, won't it?
Yeah, because everybody loved Olivia, never heard a bad word about her.
No, that's right.
You know, I went to school with her.
Did you?
Wow,
Graham?
great Goodings.
Did you know her?
No, she didn't know me.
Oh, that's a pity.
I wasn't high on her agenda.
Can you remember her at school, Graham?
Well, only very vaguely.
Yeah, that'd be because of Neighbours.
Because of what, Michael?
Because of Neighbours. She was in Neighbours, wasn't she?
No.
Right. I think I might have still been thinking about Kylie Minogue.
I think you might have been, Michael.
Anyway, that's on tomorrow.
How old was she when she did Grease, Graham? She wasn't at school then, was she?
Oh, no, she was in her late 20s when she did Grease, and some people thought she was too old to play the role of a high school student, but John Travolta wanted her, and that was that.
Right. I never knew Kylie was in Greece.
She wasn't.
I should stick to gardening.
Is that true about your old
Yeah,
man?
they both went to the same school.
In Sydney?
Melbourne.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What about that?
Yeah, not the same year level, so that's why there wasn't that much crossover. But yeah, they were at the same school at the same time.
That's amazing.
All right, let's have a look at the fuel situation. Download the free My RAA app and find the cheapest fuel in an instant. The United Tapley Hill Road Seaton is $1.67.5. The OTR Seacombe Road Seaview Downs $1.67.9. The Ampol Paynham Road Felixstowe $1.67.5. And the cheapest diesel is the OTR Bridge Road Paraka at $1.86.5.
Bit of John Blake before we leave? No, we just played it.
Yep. We've also got the blender to give away for the excellent room
yes.
we got through from Toasty a little bit earlier. Gee whiz.
I think I got it on Mark 5.
Toasty says there's a surf park coming to the western suburbs. So, Toasty, you've got the Smeg blender. If thanks to the excellent people at Debney Distributors, you can taste the difference with a Smeg.
Blakey's very happy that we played that Coots audio before. He texted going, excellent crossover. That's what we call it in the radio industry when we play other people's work.
Matthew Pantelis is coming up, but if you'd like to head off to 27 Club at Gluttony, we'll give you some tickets right now. They're coming on the program tomorrow morning. 27 Club at Gluttony in Rymel Park, home of the biggest shows this fringe. Tickets from gluttony.net.au. Give us a call right now. Otherwise, stick around. Matthew Pantelis is coming up.
The federal government has announced its changes to superannuation legislation to go to Parliament this term. What will they mean for you? How will your super look? And has the government just burnt through some political capital on the issue of super?